Holly.
That's good.
See? Yeah, we need him on the show. That's it. Now we
Harbor
can nag him every show. Then he will come on.
And I talked to him, and hopefully he's at least going to be
Harbor
in
Town is an
chat.
all-new series from Miniature Building
Oh,
Authority,
yeah, he's
the leader
usually in chat,
tabletop
yep.
gaming
Look
scene.
at that.
Unique, flexible, and playable. Harbor Town will
Now
take
we
your
have some
game.
feedback. Do you have headset?
I think it's okay now. Cleared up.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay. Yeah, it clears. Okay. Yeah. So.
Dun, 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 dun. Hello. Can you guys hear us?
God.
Oop. We do have a little feedback.
Yeah.
That might have been me.
Yeah, I think so.
We'll get Jason to work his. We may have to go. We may have to do a push to talk if it does some stuff. But right now we're looking good.
Well, I just needed to shut off the Twitch sound. I wanted to get on.
Oh, that's what it was.
on-
Yes,
Ah.
yes.
Yep.
That'll do it.
Yep.
Oh, and this, I'm behind on my cues here. Tim's gonna try and hop on. He's got some family holiday stuff, but he's gonna try and hop on later. He's done.
I just wanted to make sure I could see chat.
Let's see here. Yeah. So now I can just move my mouse.
I should really stop torturing myself with the Titan dice last night. My gosh. I was all excited. That dual-wielding fighter runs up, jumps into the fight, first swing fumble, falls, never hits. That was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Now, I still want to get some of those Titan dice.
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool. I must be cursed. It just may just be me.
Yeah, I have two sets of. They're simple, but they're the same size as yours. And sometimes it's kind of cool, especially when you run a game and you want to roll so everybody around the table can see. Then they were kind of really cool to use large dice like that. And I also use them sometimes when I'm playing online because then I can hold my hands like this and put the camera down so I can prove that I've rolled a 20 if I roll a 20. Especially if I roll a second 20, so to speak. So, yeah. I only rolled 120 yesterday, so that was.
Mike, 33 millimeter. Oh my God! I got a 30. I got a 20 sided die the size of a pool cue ball, and that thing will kill you. It's not heavy. It's like, it's insane. So, getting those real big ones.
Well, I remember when they came out with those big puffy D20 years ago. They were like, I forgot what they were. They were like polystyrene or something like that. Very light.
We had those back in the days when they were starting to do the colored dice, and they had the different swirls through them, but they chip really easily, right? Oh look, they have like pink and purple going through it. Tim's got that one that rolls, and it's almost circular because all the tops of the 20, every little corner's chipped and just rolls and rolls and rolls.
Yeah. So that was like my original hole size. It wore down on you, I remember dice decaying, falling apart to pieces.
Oh yeah, they would just disintegrate over time. You used them so much. Yeah, those dice of death always seem to critical at the most opportune moment. A little bit of a reverb. I'm trying to figure out if it's me. So, I don't think it is.
No, if you have headphones, then it should be you. Yeah.
Jason, it may be you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just speaking this to me because I was talking to this laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking it may be you. Let's see. Yeah, try and keep. Do you have a way to set the push to talk on that?
Not that I know, right?
Okay. We'll work through it, man. We shall get through and persevere.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting discussion tonight because I don't know what direction we're going to go with this, but I thought it would be cool to. So.
Yeah, I want to hear what kind of ideas you have behind character creation and stuff, because you've created in your campaign with people, players and stuff, and NPCs. You've created more kind of characters than anyone I can.
Yeah, you can say that. I mean,
Yeah.
well, thank you. We'll see the stack right next to me that I brought down. Yeah, those old 20-sided dice, they had 0 to 9 on both. They didn't have 11 to 20. That was like a luxury.
Yeah, you had to get a crayon.
Yeah, or we used grease pencil.
Yeah.
Grease pencil was good to get into those little cracks there and highlight which was darker.
Well, there was this. Remember this monochrome set. The dice were small, and I remember how horrible they were. I think they came out before the Menstner Basic, but before the end of the Holmes run. They were a bad set of dice.
Yeah, there was. I just wish I had mine. I've been looking, and I can't locate my bed. It may be away somewhere.
Oh, you mean the original dice?
My original, yeah.
I have the set, the different colored ones. They're still around, and they're kind of fairly chipped. They're in
I have uncut chits from the prison edition.
Oh, you had the prison edition.
Yeah,
I don't think it ever made it to Sweden.
I have a couple. I had a couple Holmes Basic sets, and I know I had one with the dice still in the plastic.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool. All right, we're gonna come on 1 minute early like usual. All right, look at this. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jay, aka Lord Gazumba, and I got Anna Meyer on with me, and I have Jason Zavoda in actual picture. Woo!
Back again, I think.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now, we have some little fuzziness in and out. We're trying to work on that, but if Jason disappears here and there, don't worry about it, guys. He'll be back. You know what I mean? If it kind of zonks out a little bit. So glad to have you both on tonight for this discussion. Character originations, which I think is very vague, but that's kind of cool because it can go in a lot of directions. I know Retro Gamer Meth Mike S wants to ask some other questions about the campaign. I told Gary Julian as well that I was going to give about 30 minutes to the end for a general question and answer session. I thought that would be kind of cool. And just whatever direction it goes as far as campaign issues and discussion, we could have that too. So, guys, see this?
Wow, is that
This is
stack?
This is the character sheets.
Is that NPC and characters, only play characters, or
well,
NPCs?
this is my folder here. This is my NPC folder here.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then this is old. Half of this is Tim's. The other half of is his dad's. Okay. Blue is Alan's. Now Alan's got the most PCs. I think there's 75 PCs in here. Dark, we call it the black folder of shame. That is Bill Haley, Bill the Master Crafters, right? That's his. This is Walt's. Okay, and he's got a lot in here too. Marco's, Marco's on still on hiatus. Tom's, and then I got some ex-players here, or a mix of them, and some other really old NPCs that are like mostly villains and this stuff. I don't have stuff pre-Order of Hewlett campaign in these. Those are in one of my filing cabinets down in the basement. So there's probably another 50 NPCs and dead PCs back in that. So yeah, so this is what happened to Marco's. Marco's is right here. What happened to Marco? Marco is no, it's not a bad question. Marco he's got personal and work stuff. There's Tom. What's going on, dude? Hopefully he'll be back sometime in the near future. And so that is the characters that make the Order of Hewlett campaign up. And just to start, and I have them ready for me in case anyone has any questions about any of them. But so, Anna and Jason, what do you think about, like, we'll start with Jason to see what happens with his voice when this goes. I'm interested, Anna, see what happens. So, Jason, character origination. How important is it when you play? How important is it, for any of your campaigns you're doing? And what makes it so special for flavor and things like that?
Well, I'm for my own campaigns, I start characters off at first level. So they start to develop. They give a little background, but mostly their character origin develops as the game goes by.
Right.
And most of them start out as these young characters, and they're not expected to have much of a exciting life before they've gone adventuring. So their origin story, if the campaign goes on and they survive, their origin story is all these things that happened, in the game. But otherwise, they might be from some village, from city, but there's really not a lot to them before they're really playing the game.
Makes sense. It makes sense, definitely. You never know, like, how a character is going to start out, as the zero to hero, as I think Dorgrim just said it. Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense, and it's good to develop as you go. Definitely on that. Very good point. Absolutely, Anna.
Well,
What do you think about that question?
I have a lot of similarities with Jason. One of the the best way I love to run a campaign and start it is to start them like 0 level, grounded in a place, and they start in a village or somewhere, and they come from somewhere. So the interesting for me, character concept usually starts with the background story and not the character. And the same thing when I play characters, meaning a lot of people, they say, oh, I want to play a barbarian or a fighter or a sorcerer. For me, it's always the backstory first. That comes first, meaning what is this person? Where is it coming from, or he or she or it? And the same thing with NPCs, meaning the backstory, the role in the campaign, where they come from, what the motivations and stuff. That's the key. And then I kind of put the game mechanics on at the end to make it work game-wise, so to speak. But the important thing is the role in the campaign, the role in the world, so to speak. And that's what I want to. It's not always the case. Sometimes we've started with higher level just to do more of a kind of a short campaign or a one shot or something. But even then, I want the character should come from somewhere. They should have a place in the world and a purpose in the world, so to speak. That's key.
Well, you both have a good combination of things you need. I guess because I'm unique in my in the way that my campaign is run, and it's been run for so long, that I have a really a unique opportunity to really develop some stories that make sense in the history of the game. Does that make any sense? Like,
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. And I'm going to start with one of Gitanos and one of the favorite characters in the campaign. I'm going to start with Fritz. I want to just explain how Fritz Winchester came to be. Okay? So if this gets, sorry if this gets a little boring here, but let's just talk about. We're going to go all the way back to adventure number 142. Okay, so we're talking.
How many adventures is that?
We're at
200
eight.
ago?
This Thursday's 877. Okay.
Okay.
So in 142, I created a new, and Jason may appreciate this one. I created a new evil group, really called the Amazons of the Crimson Moon, a cult of, and everyone has Amazons in their right? The warrior women or whatever that they're fierce, they're great fighters, I mean, that's who Wonder Woman is, right? Right, exactly. So the Amazons were corrupters of men too. So one of the Winchesters, Emerson Winchester III, he got corrupted by them, and he fell as a paladin, and this was the adventure it took place in. He was also David Gradavis's, who's Mark's character's best friend. And David never really got over it. Well, he tried to redeem himself, he never could. So he ended up being a cavalier, got kicked out of the Order of Ulick, and just wandered the lands. Come years later, his ex-wife, has this son who's a troubled child. No one knows who his father is. As he's growing up, he's like the black sheep of the family, and that's Fritz. No one still knows to this day who Fritz's father is. And this is how I came up with this idea. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. I can link this together now. This happened all these years ago, and now I can link together this story. Who knows who Fritz's father is? Fritz doesn't even know, and Fritz is a chaotic, stupid, as we all see, character out there who always is having issues. Always he got conscripted. He was in prison for 2 years. He's a chaotic neutral, but he's a fun character. Chuck played him great, during Gary Con Virtual. So I kind of linked the whole thing that took advantage of a previous story to create a new NPC character. Now, I think I have a little bit of an advantage with this, right? Because of all the campaign length. So I like to try and tie in some stories. So that's just one character. What do you think about that, Jason, going that far back?
Well, that's good. Although I got to say, this is just a little tangential here.
Sure.
I was just doing this write-up on the armies of and the military of and arms of the Flyness of all the nations. And on Cannon Fire, somebody sent me a link to the old Minifigs World of Greyhawk miniatures, because
nice.
They have all the military groups in there, and one of them is the miniatures for the Amazons out of Hardby, who are part of their main. So when you're talking about Amazons, I'm thinking they're just the Hardby regular troops. They had their special Amazon troops coming out of Hardby there.
Yeah, back
so yeah.
What brand were they? Were they Grenadier or were they?
They were a company called Minifigs.
Oh, Minifigs! I remember. They're red blister.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
They're terrible little miniatures, but it was back in the 70s when they were mostly pretty bad.
Yeah.
But they did a whole World of Greyhawk line. And
I didn't know that.
right at the beginning. Oh yeah, yes. They did, and some interesting stuff in there, some interesting information. And they did a mini of Eas, and 4 evil halflings. That's the pack.
Really?
But yeah.
I did not know
they have
that.
a Hierophant. They have the king of the Valley Elves from Mage of the Valley. And I hadn't even realized there was a elfin king in that valley. So, some interesting information to add there. But, you got to watch those Amazons. They're part of the regular army out of Hardby.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Well, it kind of makes sense because it's a Geekarchy, and women seems to have had, and you have Daedry or whatever her name was in the Gord novels, where Gary, and she was some sort of knight from one tough female warrior from Hardby. So there is plenty of connections like that in various sources. So yeah.
Yeah, and so that was something there. But yeah, I understand everything you're saying about. But Jay, your your chances for background are so much more than I can even conceive of. A 40-year campaign is just, I mean, nothing goes back longer, so it's stupendous. And to keep records that long, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it.
Well, it's just like it's here. It's all here. I mean, like if anything were to go, this would be catastrophic, right? I mean, just the
You got to
amount of.
put it on and get the information out there. Believe me, my computer just crashed. One of the reasons you're seeing me at all and why my connection's not great is because I'm using a little Chromebook because my PC's dead.
That's a shame.
I lost a few things, but mostly I learned my lesson from ages past and put things out online, put things out in the cloud storage and stuff so I didn't lose information.
Well, that's good to hear. Your pick will freeze from Jason's pick will freeze from time to time. As long as we can hear him, we're good.
Mhm.
So, see, here's the thing: if I scan them, they change constantly. Character sheets, they're not static, and I'd have to be doing that constantly, and I'd be going insane pulling my hair out.
But this is interesting. Now I need to ask you: have you used the same character sheet all the years? It's not directly, but it's a tangent or near the.
Okay.
Evolved over the years. Yeah.
Let's ready.
Yeah, meaning how you record.
Wow, this is a great one. I'm going to show you. You're going to love this one. Let's go back to a dot matrix printer one.
Okay.
All right.
Did
this is not the oldest, but it's close.
Stripes on it, or like the prison paper.
This is the NPC. Technically the second in command of the Order of Ulick.
So you used the software to record all this and then print it, or
yeah, this was to print a sheet out on a Commodore 64.
Oh,
this is Funkin' Hottie Peak.
Funkin' Hottie Peak.
See, Jason knows who it is.
Oh,
there he is. There's Funkin'. Look at that dot matrix printer. You can see the dots in there and stuff. Yep. So there's the Funkin' Hottie Peak sheet. This is like mid 80s maybe for that sheet. That is not. I think I got some older ones here. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. All right, here we go. Where are the? Yeah, I know I got some really, really ancient ones in here, but that's old. That is old, but there's some older ones. I'm trying to find a first generation sheet. We'll gotta find this. I mean, here we go. This one's even older. This one's a darker one. This is my friend Matt, who actually got COVID just recently. But he's not a close friend now. With his character, his 17th level ranger named Matt.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go.
Never used the official old yellow sheets, those official AD&D.
Never. Tim did, but I didn't. I wasn't. I just didn't.
We love those, and we actually made our own version of them back in the day. We used like we made larger versions of them, and then we kind of sketched out new things and adjusted so they would work with our house rules. So we made new ones for barbarians and stuff, and then shrunk them down and copied them back in the 80s, and that was kind of fun. So we have various versions, and I made a version for 3.5 that was for Greyhawk, that I made as a PDF and that made it onto the internet somehow a long time ago, and that I used for a lot of years. I even updated it for Pathfinder 10 years ago, but then we skipped and started using computers right away. So, but I still have editions that I can print out for some of my players if they want to. So yeah.
Now to show you how, Anna, that's pretty funny. But wait till you see this. I found one of the first generation character sheets. Now, I had a thing for certain females on TV because I was an adolescent. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So
you
I had.
Will be young and stupid.
I had NPCs named after the girls from Facts of Life. Okay, I'm sorry, but I
don't even know what Facts of Life is, so I can't blame you there.
Jason. All right, so I'm giving away some of my really dark secrets here, guys.
Okay. Yeah.
This is Blair the monk. Okay.
Oh, Blair the monk.
Yes.
But now Skagit will be in trouble again.
Yes.
He will after us again. Yep.
Yeah. Look at that sheet. That's the first one I ever did. That's the first sheet. That's it. It's blank on the back for items. That is all it is.
Yeah, but your sheets are very simple. They don't
Yeah.
look good, but they're very useful and very simple and
Yeah.
straightforward. So it's simplicity and usability, and I
But
must
well, that
really
is
say
then,
it's
and this
great.
is
Yeah,
now. So let me
yeah.
just pull out Amelia Rothschild. This is now. I got a
See?
picture.
Yeah,
We got a name. We got
that's
tables. You've
just
seen them because I gave
yeah,
them all for your Jason. You
yeah,
got your character and all. That's
yeah.
Yeah.
this is
So
my
are
this is
they
my
made
latest
using?
sheet.
Yeah, is that Excel that you put them in, and then?
This is all Word. This is all Word doc.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
all
Yeah.
set up with a
Yeah.
spot to insert. So
Yeah.
but that's what we do. Oh, and cardstock, guys. Cardstock, not paper. Get
Ah,
cardstock.
okay, yeah. So that you can erase
Cardstock is the way to go
and
there. So
scribble on. Yep, that's the right. Yeah, I
yeah, you
forgot
like
all
that?
these. I forgot
I
all
was
these advice from back in the day. Yeah.
Yes,
I was
Cortana, you
always
got me.
notebook paper, a lined notebook paper. I think I've used that, graph paper and lined notebook paper. That's been my what I've used since the beginning back in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever used the fancy stuff.
Come on, man. It's got to be Joe Ponyachek, Nancy McKeon all the way, but Blair's a close second. So there you go. So yeah. So that I had a question. What was my favorite Facts of Life girl from back in the day? But I gave away a secret there, guys. So yeah, you had source books were the way to go. And my gosh, I remember. I know we're getting off on a tangent, but this is what we're gonna do tonight. I remember my first figure set was the fighter box set. Remember that
Yeah.
yeah, that was my first figure set ever too, and I was like, oh my god, look at these figures. They're lead, right? They were lead. They weren't even pewter.
Oh yeah, they were led
Oh,
back
they
They
in
were
were
the day.
lead.
lead.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Gary Hoolian on this. He was showing me some of the old stuff from the '80s, and I used Tester's paint because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I went to the
That's all
hobby
you
store.
had. Yeah.
It was like enamel. It was like it chipped off and all. So
Everybody was glossy. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And some of those characters we still use to this day. So that's a cool. So mono, yeah, that's it, man. Index cards. There's a lot of different ways you could go with stuff, and I just know that I always tried to improve on the sheet to make it so that it was at the character's fingertips, and then they got prettier as time went on. I just was like, I can do this a little bit. I can do this. The pictures. We try and get the pictures to match the figure as closely as possible. I mean, that's a little bit of overkill, right? But still, it's kind of fun to have. It's fun to have, And then I do a lot of political commentary or characters in the public scene here and there, and you probably know a couple of them, and that's kind of corny too, but I do that occasionally. So but so all right, Anna and
Yep.
Jason, whoever wants to go first, give me a character from a published source with a cool background.
Well, I've been looking them up. So
Oh, thank you. You say that.
Go for it. Give
All right.
us one, Jason.
Okay. Well, let's go with a big one, Asra.
Okay. The Lich.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
mean,
let's
who
do.
are?
That's a good one. Let's talk about that. Sure.
Yeah.
He starts out back in the day, just because he goes back to the beginnings. Origins 1, 2 Mahars.
Yep.
So Asric goes back to the beginnings of D&D, and he starts out as a evil human who ends up as a lich, magic user.
Mhm.
Now, as the history is going and he becomes more and more popular, his back origin story is changing all the time. By the time they came out with Return to the Tomb of Horrors, he was now a priest of Orcus and a tiefling, no longer a human. And he's they keep things moving along, and
Oh, there goes the sound out. See, this was going to happen here and there, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right. Right after the tiefling thing, Jason.
Let's see when it comes back.
I'm back again.
Right after the
Yep,
tiefling
good.
just got when he went to the
All
tiefling.
right. Well, Okay, he's like a demon.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Uh-oh. That's a shame because it's just Jason's got a lot of great information
Oh
for
yeah,
us.
he's the one that has way more about this than I do,
Yeah,
because I
Vecna's origin too, and that is that.
Well, the end is he's now an apprentice to Vecna.
Okay, so he started two Mahars just as the bad guy, was a human, became a lich, and now they've ascended him. Someone has ascended him. Now, do you know who did that? Was that Gary?
No, it's way
Okay.
past Gary. Gary had him as a human magic user. Bruce Cordell had him as a tiefling, and then at the very end, Asarik is in so many different things. You know that Ready Player One, the book, he's in there.
Yeah.
yeah, he transcended into kind of general
culture, yeah.
geekdom. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, first he was in some of the Planescape stuff. He became part of the Ravenloft campaign.
Yeah.
He got co-opted into almost any setting they wanted to put him into. But then he's jumped right out. There's even mention of him in Gamma World. So he has jumped. Oh yeah. So they have jumped Asarik way beyond his origin point. Back in the early days, he was just a simple human magic user, wants to become a lich, and at the end, there's this huge backstory for him. And he is kind of symbolic of what happens to a major character over 40 years,
right?
Especially in Greyhawk, which is a bare bones campaign.
Yeah.
So, right. As they need him for published material, kind of. That's how it happens. Yeah.
And it's because Kumahars transcended the setting, and it became such a big thing that they started to move it around.
Right.
And they wanted to use it for everything.
Yep.
Wow, that's great information, Jason. Thanks for doing that research, man. That's because I did not know that Bruce Cordell, who I've reached out to, and he said he'd come on, but he hasn't given me a confirmation date yet to come on Gabbin. I didn't know he turned him into a tiefling there, so was not aware of that. That's great information. So,
well, return to the Two Mahars box set. It's an excellent set, and there's great work done there. And I can forgive Bruce for wanting to expand on that simple beginning. And he really took the whole Asarik thing and made it into a campaign.
Yeah.
And an accessible campaign where Tomb of Horrors, it was always a deadly dungeon. It was a campaign,
It was a campaign killer. It could be. That adventure. Yeah. That adventure could end your day and permanently, which I don't. Well, I'm not into doing that unless it's a momentous event. Like I'll kill off characters, mostly NPCs, but I won't. I don't want to ruin an entire. It's like you're venturing for 10, 12 years with characters. I don't want to kill them off in a module. I mean, it's just not the way to go out,
I mean, once you've seen players jump in a little conga line into the green devil face,
yeah,
and you know what's happened, it's like,
yeah,
uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that brings back some memories, doesn't it? That brings back memories. That and Hidden Shrine at Tomoe-con. Tomoe-con was not as deadly, but it was fun because it was the first competition module out, and I'm like, what's this all about? And that sand trap room, oh my god, that was brutal. That was the first time I've ever seen a trap in an adventure that you're in there, you're dead. So that was kind of cool, definitely. So Astrak was one of Vecna's right-hand men, according to David Leonard. Not sure when that happened.
That was back prehistory, like when Vecna rose to power, I think. Yeah.
Good point. And
probably even before Kaz came around.
So are you saying Astrak was Sauron and Morgoth is Vecna? Is that what we're saying?
I don't want to draw any straight conclusion just based from the tidbits that I've read from David Leonard's articles and other similar
Well, what I read was Asarik is a child and he's apprentice.
Ah,
Okay.
yes.
Like
Okay.
that.
There you go. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So what do you got, Anna? You got one for us?
Well, I want to go back to my one of my favorite Lord Vuron or Verin, that
Okay.
because he's been around
Uh-huh.
in various forms and shapes way more than I realized, because
Right.
I studied him on the Greyhawk Wiki, with that is actually a really great source, and he's like Gerast's right hand demon, so to speak. And but he was actually kind of more so. I thought that it was a Gygax original, but apparently it's not. It's he comes from somewhere, and he just changed name and used the name. So I don't know who invented him, but he took that shape in Gary's novels as Lord Vuron, and I kind of just like the albino, smart, kind of very tempered demon, so to speak. I kind
Was
of
he ever? Was he always a demon, or was he human at one
No,
point?
he
Or
was, as far as I know, always a demon.
okay.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
And an albino demon, then I guess assume with red eyes and stuff. So I take it as in my campaign, I kind of developed from the idea albino. So he's like, meaning
Hmm.
Grast is this black, like drow black, large
Hmm.
man demon, so to speak. So I took that he that Lord Vuron came from the same type of demons, meaning that looked like giants in a way, like 6 feet tall humans with 6 fingers. That he came from the same kind of lineage that way. That Gras, but he was, instead of being jet black, he was albino, so he was kind of different that way, and red eyes and white. But I also made an alternate version of him, so to speak. So he can, one of his alter egos was that he was a skeletal, like, because he was mainly a diviner, but he also had a lot of necromantic, meaning he could sway people and creatures, meaning he could sway them into their both soul and their physical abilities. And he kind of, meaning Gerast is this kind of carefree, meaning charismatic manipulator and going the sexual route or whatever. But Vuron is the counterpart. He uses the intellectual stuff, the deep science, whatever. So he can be a person with words, and he also knows how to manipulate and how to get stuff out of anyone, anything, and know things. So he had a kind of a, so he's kind of a diviner necromancer kind of. That's the character I have. So he had this alter ego, then he becomes a skeletor figure with red eyes and a white robe, so to speak. That's his alter ego figure. So he can be more kind of a Kaolin, just like almost look like a barbarian albino thing with like no shirt and just pants, and a muscular demon just like next to Gust. The opposite from him in
Please.
many ways, not impulsive and stuff. So that's been my kind of, that's typical of me. I take something that is in canon or in written sources,
Mhm.
and then I kind of spin it out to fit my own campaign.
Which
That
is what
that's
you're supposed to. That's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I take something and use a lot of it, change a few details here and there, but I usually add to what's already there, so to speak, to suit my campaign.
Was he in the Gourd books? Don't slap me if
Yes.
I'm. I thought so.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
he was
Major
one of the
player.
main,
Okay.
one of the main villains in, or kind of help villain. Yeah, he was in several of them, and he was part of he was the one leading a lot of the discussions, and he was also I would say kind of a quest giver to Gord in a way, and helping to some degree shaping, and I kind of, yeah, I really like that role, so to speak. He could be ruthless and evil, but not always thwarting the party, so to speak, at all, at every corner. So he wants to recruit good adventurers to do evil deeds for him.
Okay.
That's the perfect plot if we can do it. So yeah.
Yeah, Broron is such a good character,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
I've always felt that the way it was described was like the power behind the throne,
Yes.
like
Hmm.
a couple notches in intelligence above Grazit,
Oh yeah.
so that he was manipulating Grazit, and he
Hmm.
was the kind of guy that Grazit would take all the heavy, that anything directed would be sent to overthrow Grazit, while Vuron would be getting his way,
Hmm.
but letting
Yep.
Brad take all the trouble. and I really felt Vuron was he was so dominant
Whoa.
in
Yeah.
that, and but yet he was the kind of character that was like neutral. So he could use. He wasn't opposed to using anything to get
Exactly.
his
Yeah.
way done,
Yep.
and uh, he wasn't wildly evil. He didn't do things just for evil. It's just he didn't have any kind of good moral compass. He would just
Exactly.
do whatever he needed,
Yep. And I
and
also
he had
take
no
it. Yeah.
consideration. But he had
Oh, I think Jason went again.
Yeah.
no.
But
I just
Oh, okay.
paused.
yeah. So yeah, and I totally agree with your assessment of him, and also I think that he doesn't want to be the ruler, so to speak. He doesn't want to
Yeah.
have all that responsibility, and Grass knows that. That's why he trusts him. But he wants to be the one whispering in the ears of the rulers and so on, and he can kind of act from behind, so to speak. We one step from the throne and be very much the one that has real power, and he's the executive of the. And then Grass can go around on his whatever things he wants to cajole in his pleasures and whatnot, knowing that Ruron is behind and he's kind of taking care of business as needed, so to speak. So I think they have a very interesting relationship, those two, and both of them are. And in my campaign, Vuron has been more depicted more times, and I used him more than Gras.
Oh
Gras
yeah.
has been that meaning if you fuck it up with I'm sorry for the
that
language, with
that's okay.
Vuron, then his boss is even worse, so to speak, and he would have no
Oh yeah. Yeah.
qualms whatsoever. And I've also created a menagerie of under lieutenants and others beneath them, so to speak. Vuron is used as a master manipulator villain at the top, and I've had two, maybe three echelons of figures under it, so to speak. So they can start out and they found because Vuron runs probably one of the multiverse best spy networks and stuff. So he has a whole bunch of people, and he can reward really well too, and be patient, so to speak, with people that are useful for him. So like Jason said, I think he could be as ruthless as needed, but he's not ruthless simply because of that gives him the thrills or anything like that. Yeah.
See,
And he's not an underdog. He knows he has power and he enjoys it, but he's not seeking more of it. He already has what he needs that way, I think.
and you know, because these are coming from the Gygax novels,
Yeah.
not just
Oops. Yeah, yeah, we get a cool little tidbit and then you disappear for
That's a shame.
Yep.
Yeah. We will get this worked out for next time too. So that's okay.
Yeah, Gaetano,
They come from the Gygax novels,
Uh,
which makes it really, really cool and special.
well, also Gygax brought them to life.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he really
That's the key.
it's sad in a way that the later novels that don't feature Greyhawk, Gygax moved on to the plains of the abyss, and
Yeah.
Endless Darkness and Jets and Demons. You're really dealing heavily with that, and
Mhm.
it is so rich.
Mhm.
And when Anna's talking about lieutenants, there's character, demonic, devilish character after character that you can. They're really an incredible source material. Those novels.
Yep.
The first ones are great for Greyhawk, and then the end. If you're doing a demonic or devilish campaign, there you have this all brought to life and all these characters. And we're talking character origin. This is just tremendous for non-player character origin.
Yep.
They are the best source books out there for this.
I'm glad to hear that, and I still need to read them. And that's
yeah,
really
you
sad.
definitely need to read them.
That's sad.
And
Jason, it's sad.
exactly. And yeah, and I totally agree with Jason again, because it's so they give if you want to know the machinations and the inner politics and stuff of the nether planes and the lords and the rulers and the pushers of that are above and gods and godlike creatures, it's awesome. You can bring and then you can take one of them and just base a whole campaign on them, like Costitio, however you say, the demon guy with a huge club or mace or something like that, and he's just awesome because he's like just he has a big tool, and that's all he knows, and he's looking for something to kill with that thing. And when the machinations and discussions get too long, he just wants to go around killing something. And oh, it is. I would love to see someone make a movie of that, because those politics, demon politics, would have been excellent to see in a, that will be my kind of fantasy movie. That
Okay,
will be fantastic.
so David asked a question: how did
Yeah.
Mordenkainen's Circle of Eight start? Now, I believe Mordenkainen was an NPC in Gary's campaign, not a PC. Now, there was the Circle of Eight. Now, remember, I'm going to say it now because I didn't say it last night. Scott Casper did. Leonard no, Alan Grohe did. Leonard
You almost said
Lakofka
it.
had
Yeah, no, you said
Leomund in that circle to start. So there was a lot of those characters that were all PCs. But I think Mordenkainen was the NPC. Jason, what do you think about that? Is that true?
Well, Alan Groh would be much better at this,
Okay.
but Keenan
What's up,
was
Gary?
Lord Kanan was a character run by Gary.
Yes.
Gary Gygax.
Yeah, he was NPC.
Yes. Now, Bigby was a character run by Rob Kuntz.
Yep.
And Rob and Gary, very early on, started shifting their DMing back and forth. And I'm not 100% certain here, but I believe that when Rob was DMing, Gary was doing Mordenkainen. And when, Gary was DMing, Rob was running Bigby, who was an evil character to begin with. And at one point, they had a duel between the two characters, and Bigby is made into Mordenkainen's servant.
Because he lost. Jason's off. So we're working on it. We'll persevere through with the Chromebook tonight, right, Jason?
Yeah.
That's a great story and a great question, though, David. And
part of himself. So the early Mordenkainen. Now, the Circle of Eight is a bit of a later creation.
Yes, it was the Citadel first.
And the Citadel of Eight is not necessarily a adventuring group.
No, it's like an organization.
Well, and it's also a citadel, Mordenkainen's Citadel, that the eight that were with the Citadel at first, and
it was, and I know Leomund was one, and so there's a blog spot that Katana put up because Jason, we can't hear you again. The expedition into the Black Reservoir. So, Gygax's Legendarium. That's pretty cool.
Zaggy is the potential founder of that company of 7. So, there you have these adventuring companies that harken back in the lore to the very beginnings of known history, and the active history of the game. And then at the same time, add on to the home campaign origins that were going on with Gary and Rob and all these various people who became main characters within the campaign. Tom, Drajim, even Arnd, who was, he was.
It's like we're all like this.
Unarmed.
Yeah.
And that was his character, the vulnerable coat of Arnd.
Yeah. Well, I did.
Sorry, I keep going.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We're gonna get through this one, Jason. And then we'll figure out what we need to do for next time for Wednesday.
Well, hopefully down the road things will improve.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Well, we went off on a nice long discussion on that, and appreciate that question, David. I want to share. I'll do one here. I want to share a trick of the trade here. Okay, guys, I'm going to give you away. The damsel in distress is a great way to start something. Okay, and here's what I mean by that. We'll start with adventure number 800, and oh my God, I got the list up right here. It was Halloween of 2018. All right, and it was called 836. So it was 51 adventures ago. It was called It Takes Two: A Tale of Love and Horror. It was our Halloween special. Excuse me, that year. And we still probably had like 10, 15 viewer average, maybe 20 at that time, which was our PCs and which was just NPCs. So, Gary, we think that Morning Canaan. I think Morning Canaan was the only NPC. I really do. I think all the rest were PCs. I remember seeing a list, and I think that he was the only one that really Gary had as an NPC. That is from what I remember. So, what's the earliest module in the timeline? They're all
Good question.
576. Almost all of them are 576, right?
Oh, you're talking in that date. Oh,
Yeah, Retrogamer Meth asks, as far as all your old school adventures are all 576, aren't they?
well, if we look back at B1 in the Holmes Basic set, that's often set in Greyhawk. And, I mean, I don't know if there's a timeline, but basically everything from the folio on, where you start talking about a common year, everything's kind of jumps off at 556.
Yeah, 576 is a good point to start, but you don't have to start there. Like, let's bounce around a little bit here. So, um, for example, when I first started my campaign when I was 12 years old, and we talked about this on Legends and Lore. Anna, Mike, and I did this because Mike and I both love the Battle of Emerald Meadows, love the storyline and the original glossography, right? So of course, our character origination, our first characters were 17-year-old if they were human that fought as foot soldiers in that fight, right? That was how we started our characters off before there was 0 level in that fight, and that's where our campaign started. So my campaign back at the beginning started in 569, and right afterwards, and that's how we started off. And it was a great idea. And that you don't have to start in 576. You can start whatever time frame you want. You can make stuff a couple years earlier, or a couple years later. It doesn't matter. Would you guys both agree with me on that, Anna?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
And I wasn't so organized when I started back in the day. It was more like that kind of came after some years. In the beginning, I just came up with loose in kind of adventures and just went with it. And then I started organizing and realized that as I read about Greyhawk, that, oh, this is cool. It makes sense. It connected, and I started building campaigns and stuff. And that's when then I realized that, oh, they're coming out with new stuff. And the Dragon articles that Gary wrote about political things happening in the Bandit Kingdoms and Sheldamar Valley and so on. I wrote those, read them, and kind of, oh, that's cool. And I incorporated ideas and took it and advanced. And then From the Ashes came out, and the war started, and the whole world. And then I felt like I need to follow this. So I kind of took those things and played out that politics and let my characters become involved in the war against IUs and stuff like that for years. And then I started afterwards in the Living Greyhawk. I didn't follow. I took the material, but I'd never followed that story. And then I kind of run like 3 campaigns afterwards, and I kind of made up my own stories following the war. And now I'm in 598. So yeah.
What you need, if someone has it, please link any of the Battle of Emerald Meadows information that Mike has done or any of the bloggers have done. Feel free to link that into the chat, because I think it's the best starting origination point for Greyhawk campaigning. That's my opinion. All right, so
it's one of many awesome places to start.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Unlike the false links between the super modules that they did later on, T1 to 4,
right.
A1 to 4, GDQ 1 to 7, some of the stuff happened simultaneously.
Yes.
What's going on at T1 is happening when the Geoff stuff is happening. Because imagine in 77, Holmes Basic comes out, 78, the Folio comes out, 78, G1 comes out. All right? So those monochrome modules, T1, G1, 2, 3, they are happening at the same time. Italy was getting the rest of the Temple Elemental Evil out. That took a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't come out till the super module came out. The original designations were WG1 for Hamlet, WG2 for Temple of Elemental Evil,
Yeah,
and
jump.
they didn't use them.
Right, and I think Tharizdun was 3, and no, Tharizdun was 4, which it still is to this day, and Shokanth was supposed to be
4 is
3.
3.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I,
and that's because Shokanth is the direct predecessor to WG4.
yeah,
Like that gnomish village that you run into in into S4, you run into again in WG4.
yep, yep. What were you gonna say, Anna?
Phantom NJ has an awesome comment there that the players they stopped had it escorted a caravan from Verborg to Hamlet, and they stopped and pay homage to the dead and stuff. That I think is a
It's a
wonderful way of
fantastic
introducing
idea.
players to because
Fantastic.
you have it so often. I have, like, when they stop by, there's like this old drunk guy who wants to tell all the stories about what happens in the neighborhood and stuff, so you kind of tie it in, and there might be a little, like a symbol, someone put a little stone there to commemorate the dead, or just put flowers by a tree or something. Like, you have a traffic accident here, then people put out the flowers or little cross along the road, something similar but in a fantasy setting. And I kind of, yeah.
All right, real quick. So I had a discussion with Retro Gamer Meth and Phantom and a couple other people on Discord today, and he asked me, "Is the T1 to 4, then A1 to 4, G1 to 4? Is that the progression that's recommended?" I said, "That's not. That's a progression that someone made up and said, oh, this is good. It's not, right? As Jason said, what you need to do is what I would do is take a location, make it your own, and develop in that location. And then whatever adventures are, you can move maybe. And I always said this, and Leonard's not on, so don't anyone ever say this. Move the L1, 2, and 3 out of Lendor Isle and put them somewhere else because they're fantastic. Don't waste them. The L1 is unbelievable. I love it. Put it in Northern Keeland, put it in Sterich, put it in Geoff, put it in the Shieldlands, put it somewhere. Grandma, who cares? Wherever you're playing, and play them, and then mix them all in.
Yeah, and it's also very important the style you want to apply to running your games. Meaning, where do you put the energy? Meaning, I put probably more energy into build. That's how I started with my maths, building my world than actually running the game. But if you want to spend, some DMs, they don't want to spend 10 hours to prepare for 2 hours of gaming. That, to them, that's a silly investment of time. They want to sit down and roll dice with their friends. Then modules, pre-made modules, make perfect sense. You don't have to invent all the places and all the maps and do all that crap in order to run the game. You just take the novel and change a few module, change a few details, and run with it. So it's very much the style of some DMs. It's about the modules, play cool modules that top creatives have come up with, run it. And then you have this uber sandboxy like me who can take ideas from a module but never run it as intended. And the in between, so to speak. So both sets are perfectly valuable. I played in a lot of campaigns with pre-written modules, and the DMs have run them flawlessly and fantastically, and so it's very much how you want to invest. What is your thing? Run the game at the table, or world building, or somewhere in between? So where your sweet spot is.
What do you think about that, Jason?
Well, it's what you were saying, like that super module connection. They wanted a cradle to grave campaign.
Yeah.
They wanted you to start at first level in Hamlet and be able to take your character continuously from adventure to adventure. That would supposedly get you to, I don't know what
12th.
you'd be in the Q module. And for Greyhawk, 12th is a very high level. That's a very high level in the game. This is not a super high level game setting. You'd have to do a lot to find characters that were in the original stuff that were that high level. I mean, later on as editions changed, the level of modules set in there and characters. If you notice, a lot of characters were boost. NPCs got a boost of level as the editions changed. But originally, that super module series it was so that you could take your early or originating characters and the DM could just run adventure, and they were excellent adventures. And you could run adventure after adventure and have a whole long campaign, years long campaign.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, yeah, no, there
There's
isn't.
nothing wrong with that. But it's not a published source. It's someone's recommendation. That's all it is. It's not something that's etched in stone. This is the way to do it. It's someone thought it was a good idea and said, "Oh, this is what I would do." Just like I'm saying, I love, if you're going to do that, I love throwing in some sidebars here and there, some side quests, some take them off the beaten track occasionally. That's what I like to do, so.
Well, the thing about the Greyhawk campaign is there is literally no wrong way to run it. It is a campaign given to the DMs. You can use it for any mechanical system, and you can do anything, absolutely anything you want from it. You can run Shadowrun Greyhawk. You can run Cthulhu Greyhawk. You can make a silly clown Greyhawk like they did with WG7. You can. I mean, Gary ran the Alice in Wonderland Greyhawk. I mean, there's no way to come out with the wrong Greyhawk. What we share is that we can go back and say, this is where we started. We can look at the folio. We can look at the box set. We can even look at, say, I started with Sargent. I started with Moore. I started with, Mona and Hollian. We can go and say we
Who's that? Who's that guy after Mona?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we just have a background that we share. And that is what makes this such a special campaign, is because this setting, unlike Forgotten Realms, unlike Dragonlance, it really belongs to us. It is our setting to do with as we want. And, that again is why I do not lament not seeing officially published products, because we have so much rich fan materials.
He had a point there.
Great point. Yep, that's why we lost him.
We lost you again, but you had a point. You were on a roll, which is awesome. So it's okay.
I disappeared again there.
It's okay.
It's okay. Now you're back again. So
yeah, it was great. It was a great point about it's our stuff.
Yeah, and there's an infinite amount out there, and we're not going to get locked into something where we have to play it a certain way.
Yep.
And it makes it an incredibly rich imagination.
Yep, I agree 100%.
Nothing else like it.
So I want to say something about last night because Mike is on. Mike got to play Martin, a thief last night with Scott. Casper played his cousin, right? Boris the Blessed. I don't think I didn't want to laugh that loud at Scott, but how many times do you need to kick a door down and not know that it's going to be trapped, right? Every time he charged a door, you knew that he was going to set a trap off, right? And he did every single time. And even my players Tim starts going, you should get the little bit of the idea here that every time you charge into a door, blatantly, Jay's going to have a trap set off on it, whether it's there or not, right? So that was really funny last night. So yeah. Scott is damn the torpedoes is the type of player Scott is, which is great. But I got to do the synopsis here. They get into that final room last night, and there's just a big sarcophagus of Wigan the White right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the room, right? Not going to check anything else. He goes right in, and he says, I'm opening it. He goes right in and starts opening it before they look at anything else in the room. It was classic. And then they push it down, click, and we all know what happened after that. So it's like I had the perfect trap set for Scott. At the end of that, and but you guys did okay. It was just hysterical. I had to bring that up while Mike was on. That Scott was it was hysterical. I was glad he played last night. So,
yeah.
But you need those kind of players. So, got a little fun little tangent there. Sorry about that, but
But that's really important in not only backstory, but how
yeah,
you play the character
yeah,
and you can so have a funny sidekick in every party is as important in role playing game as it is in a lot of movies and stuff. You need that comic relief at
you
times,
have to.
especially if you get too gloomy or whatever in fantasy setting. You need that, and it's awesome to have a player that can understand that and play a character that has that. Yeah.
Definitely what
You know,
definitely.
that's
Go ahead, Jason.
well, that's when we were talking about the fun in Greyhawk.
Yeah,
That's why you can't plan this stuff. It just happens.
Hmm.
And you can have the most serious setting, and then you have these things like that kicking down the doors. It just happens. The funny happens. It's part of the experience of playing a role playing game.
yeah, and Phantom brings us up again. The style of play is not the campaign. That's the rule set you use, and that's a huge thing. Is that if you're playing in a game of Greyhawk game, and you make certain, I run old school 1E 2E, and some other people run 5E, and maybe some people running Pathfinder like Anna. It doesn't matter. The campaign is what's going to set up the storylines and what's going to set up everything else. The addition is just the way you do things within that campaign, and that's a cool thing. That's a good point as well. Absolutely on that point. So characters again. Let me finish this real quick. I love going off these tangents. This is great. We're getting some really keep the questions coming too, guys, because I think the last half hour we're gonna do is questions in the last half hour. I think we'll do that tonight. It'll be good. So we'll keep this going for about a half hour, and then we'll go to just general questions about whatever you want. Campaign, Greyhawk, you know, um, other TV shows that I had affinity for girls when I was 12. Whatever you want to talk about, that's fine. Because I guarantee I made characters, I made NPCs. So, that's a child there. All right, so we had this Halloween adventure, a tale of a tale, and a female from the house Von Kessel. She ran off and they had to recover her. And Tom probably remembers it's one of the first adventures that Tom did when we came back. And it turns out it was Millicent von Kessel. They rescued her. She got into this thing where the boyfriend she ran away with got killed, got turned into this undead, and eventually party saved her. Well, it turns out then a few months later, I turned her into an NPC in the new first level group out of Winchester's Bulwark because she decided she got the adventuring bug and wanted to become an adventurer just like them. And that's how this character, it's in my Horror in the Holes campaign games that people play, and an NPC. I have a great dual wielding, light armor wearing character now with a little bit of an attitude, a card carrying character. Good. It's simple. Simple. So you take an adventure, you rescue a damsel, you rescue someone. They're normal, they're young, and then they decide to become an adventurer. A great way to tie in and get a good background story for your character. So, right there, Gitano, as you Sigmund Freud voice. So, Jay, why did you first start making NPCs and women? Because I'm 12 years old and I had overactive glands. I don't know why. It's just the way it was back in the day when you're a kid, right? So I'm trying to think of some of the other shows. I love Buck Rogers. So I had actually a character henchman named Buck Rogers in my game when I was a young kid. Yeah, I did.
But
I really,
I think that Gaetano's question ties into something also important. When you create NPCs that are not like yourself,
yeah,
you have to have some other role models.
yeah,
Meaning, when I create demons or whatever guys or something that I'm not doing, something that I'm not, then I need to have role models, ideas, and concepts from books and TV series and movies and stuff like that. That's part of the creative process. Just like when I do my maps and stuff, I go out in the real world and see what the terrain look like and make fantasy versions of that. So I think that's perfectly normal. Meaning, if you want women in your games, then if you are a woman and you have a lot of female friends and stuff you babble with, that gives me a lot of stuff for that. And being in the military, I've seen some locker rooms and stuff that with men's stuff that I can kind of use. But on the other hand, a lot of other stuff it's
Mhm.
things I'd never done and have no clue. So I have to steal from books and movies and TV series and whatnot. So
And
I think that's important.
it is, and I'm not. I know there's certain. This is taboo, not here, and never will be. But in some of the Twitch shows I watch or I scan through because I see what's going on, they discourage different gender play, and I think that's ridiculous. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Hmm. Yeah.
especially for NPCs, what am I gonna have all
Yeah.
male?
Exactly. You need in NPCs, you need a large variety, especially if you want to simulate a
Yeah.
world that I do, then you need of all stripes and stuff in order to make a fun, interesting, believable world or adventure area to play fun in. But on the other hand, that also depends what kind of style of gaming you do. For some GMs, the story is it, so to speak. The story and
Yeah.
to have cool encounters and puzzles and build that. That's it. And
Hmm.
the rest of the world kind of plays a very little influence. And those games are perfectly fun. And I played in some awesome ones, but that's not the way I run my games.
Right.
So it's kind of, yeah. And the weird thing with me is that I like to run games one way, and I often like to play. I would not be the good player to play in my own games often. That's the weird thing. So I kind of, for me, running the game is one thing and playing it is another. So I'm so happy that there are some players who like to play in my games occasionally. So yeah.
So why are the women as species? Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
That's a very good question, Rox, and I'm very interested to hear what Jay and Jason has to say about that.
Why were most of the women the PCs met out to kill them? Because that's a
I
great.
have some theories on that, but I want to hear your answers first. Yeah.
Jason, you want to handle that one first, or do you want me
oh,
to?
no, that's you. That's
All
you,
right. So
man.
here's the deal. You have your world is small when you're younger, and you don't understand how things work in reality, and you have a warped sense of what is, yeah, exactly. Because I was 12 or 13, you just don't understand the way personal relationships function. So you have a skewed thought process on this in your brain, and I think plus it was fun, right? It was like fun guy adolescent things going on. The women are out to get, the females are out to get us, the women are out to get us. It just was silly. It was because we didn't know any better back then. Some. I said this. I was talking to Scott Casper today, and I said to him, I appreciated you coming in and playing in my game with. I tried to do a lot of Greyhawk lore and throw that in last night. I tried to throw in some cool combat, and I threw a little silliness in, like which and that. And he goes, "That's what I liked." He said, "I like this because it wasn't all serious the whole time, and you had the ghost of this of Henry who wanted the pizza." Crazy stuff. If you're serious all the time, you lose your focus on what's important too. I can't. I gotta throw in some crazy stuff here and there. Just the way I
Hmm.
DM, and
Well,
everyone
Yeah.
DMs differently, right? You
you're
gotta do stuff that doesn't make any sense
you're
sometimes.
Yeah. Hmm.
you're
You know?
playing a game. You're not writing a novel.
Yep.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. You're playing a
Yep.
game, and that's another. Okay, I'm not. Yeah, don't do serious. Exactly, Jimmy. Thanks. I appreciate it. That is absolutely true, and that is one of the things that Jason, you brought this up. There's a. I play a game with my friends, and I stream it. I don't stream as a theatrical performance. I stream the game. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yes, it makes
and
sense.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you can't avoid looking
Yeah.
online and seeing them doing rehearsed theatrical performances instead of just theater of the mind role playing. And I think a lot of the. Am I on?
You're good. Yeah, you're
Yes.
good. You're
Yep.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just
I
think
was laughing. I was smiling at what you're saying.
yeah, I just think that there's a lot, and it's very nice to see. But when you see these smooth performances and smooth reactions, and 1, 2, 3, and it just moves on, pretty much the rehearsal, because real life is that way, and real gaming isn't that way.
Yeah.
And you're there to have a fun time, not there to stay in character 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one of the things I love about watching your game is that it's a real game. And I mean, there's a lot of things, but that is one of the things I like about it.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
I think that the golden rule when it comes to what's allowed at the table or not is that at, as long as everyone is involved and like it and accept it and so on, almost anything goes. So the important thing is that you as a DM, that you know your players and tables, meaning if you sit down at a convention and play with strangers, you have to be way more limited, and a lot of things will not, you should not introduce it into the game, so to speak, and so on. But if you play with people you know for years and you talk about, should we introduce these topics that might be sensitive or whatever, and they say go ahead and we do it, and you know it, then I think it's the group that should set the limits, not the DM or not an individual player. It's the group that should do it. And if you follow these rules and then say apologize quickly when something goes off the rails, you can do a lot of weird things that some other groups might not like whatsoever for whatever reason. So I think the important thing is to know your gaming group, and if you do know them and stuff, then you can push the boundaries if that's what the gaming group like. But it's a communication, and I think the important thing is to step out of the role and simply say, okay, now I'm going to out of character for like 30 seconds and say, are we okay with this? And that's where we go. And then step back in again. And that is important because then you can kind of push it. And the important thing is that dialogue and know your players and want to know your players.
Great points. Absolutely great
Yep.
points.
Well,
How far can you
most
push? I mean, there's limits, but go ahead.
of
Go
my
ahead, Jason.
life, I've gamed with friends, and people who eventually became friends through gaming. And so, the table wasn't filled with people I didn't know, except there was different rules for convention play.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know anybody, or you only know one or two. But normally gaming, even if it's online gaming, you become friends. That's
Yeah.
it's a social activity, and that's what happens. You become friends with the people you associate with, or you stop associating with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the world works.
Yep.
I mean, when you're doing things because you want to do them, not because you're being paid to, you have to earn money and stuff, then you just do what you want to do, and you're around the people that you like.
Absolutely. I mean, look at it last night. So Brian, who played, Brian Sublime, who played Samanda and DM'd for us during GaryCon VTT, and Jeremy, who played. I met them online playing World of Warcraft in 2004. I mean, that's where I met
Ah,
them.
yeah.
And now I'm friends. So yeah, it's a true thing. Yeah, Katana, that's true. And if you ever watch Maximum Maidens, you'll see some completely outrageous female things happening. They all female player character group. So on Nightheart Gaming as well. So let me think here, because now I'm like we're way off. This is good though. This is a great discussion. Um, it ties in with what we're talking about on origination, that you look at where it's a good thing to know your players and know where to start with them and know how to there's what the limit's going to be. I know it may be hard, especially like if you're an adult and you're doing it for younger players. It may be a little bit more of an issue. um, you can steal issue. That's another thing, Cobb. You can steal all day long. So Brian Blomkotz has always said this: if it's been written for gaming, it's meant to be stolen, right? If it's written, it's a good idea for gaming, it's meant to be stolen. I'll give you multiple examples. Are you ready? The Inquisitor class that I have, the Avenger class that I have. There's got to be two others. There's one or two others. They all ripped off. Oh, they're ripped off from Baldur's Gate 2. Battle shouts, demoralizing shouts, taunt I use for my fighters. They all ripped off from World of Warcraft, right? And I converted all those good ideas into second edition gameplay, and I ripped it all off.
Yeah.
It's okay, So you're absolutely correct, and you got to take things, you got to utilize them. So, yep, absolutely. Yeah, why would we treat game material any differently? If you come up with something's good, and oh my god, my guys will love that. I'll do it. I'll do it in a second. The Inquisitor is one of
Yeah.
our favorite classes to play. So, yeah. So, Anna, Jason, you taken anything from another game source you can think of?
I take things from everywhere. I mean, I take things from TV, books, science fiction, games. I steal mechanics from anywhere that look good. It's just there's this old French playwright named Moliere,
Mm-hmm.
and he was a terrible plagiarist. And they asked him about it, and he said, "I take my inspiration where I find it." And for gaming, I'm unhesitant about that. Whatever seems good to me, I grab. Whatever makes me think putting another word on the paper, I'm happy to find it. And so I use writing. I use what gets me thinking, and it can be from anywhere. And lots of times, some of the most original ideas toward D and fantasy come from unexpected sources, because people storylines and ideas that you haven't.
Oh, there we go.
Yep. It worked for a few
We
sentences.
almost got through.
Yep. We'll see. Yep.
So while we're waiting for Jason's voice to come back,
Yep.
Oh,
Now he's back. Yep.
I'm back again.
Yep.
yeah, you lost
But
about
I'm
10
just
seconds.
saying, you just think you find inspiration where you find it. You can't. There's no way to predict where that's going to be.
Yeah.
But you should not try to limit yourself. You shouldn't say, "I'm only going to find inspiration in the next D&D book." You find inspiration in that next movie, TV
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
wherever you find it.
Yeah, and I think that's key. I totally agree with Jason. I think one of the things that you really need to learn skill if you want to build your own adventures is to be able to transcend genres, meaning you have to see principles. Meaning if you want to have political machinations and the Game of Thrones, meaning then you can look at real world politics, meaning how is a power struggle done in different types of rulerships, meaning you want a country run by priests and clergy and stuff. Look at history of the Catholic Church and War of the Roses and all sorts of stuff and then translate that into fantasy and introduce dragons and what happens if you have the gods are real and that clerics wield magic power, or they're nasty monsters out in the forest and humanoids and whatever, and take real world issues and think about it. How would that play out in a fantasy world, and kind of go with that version, but make sure that you don't introduce the real world problems into your fantasy. Make fantasy problems in your fantasy games, but use inspiration from books and movies from either genres. And just because you take inspiration from sci-fi doesn't mean that you have to have lasers and spaceships in your fantasy. You can translate that into other fantasy terms and mask it, or you might want to have spaceships and lasers in your fantasy game. That's up to you. But so think about the stories and the plot points and the struggles and the conflicts and drama from a more principled standpoint, and then you can kind of mold it in, so to speak, into your games.
Very good suggestions. As
Yeah.
in barrier peaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Rush is good. I mean, Neil Peart was unbelievable as a lyricist. Just read the lyrics for The Trees, and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's such a political commentary. It's very. I think it's genius, actually. So, I once used an 80s song lyrics as clues for Zagging's Madhouse. I knew the song, but none of the players recognized. Sometimes you do that. I'll say this. Sometimes you outsmart yourself. I've done this many times because, like I said, we always go back to this. And it started at the beginning last night. No, I was shocked. I know Anna was keeping quiet. Only Alan's the one that really is like, oh yeah, you're with Estrella, and he's the only one his character because I've heard of her in the Vespi. I was like, oh my god, my guys don't know who Estrella Chamferel is. My players,
no, they
like,
didn't. I knew who she was, but my
you kept quiet.
didn't, so yeah,
I was
didn't. Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, I got to educate my players more. Sometimes, like I said, you can outsmart yourself, right? You say you get something, you get something all worked up,
But
and you
I just go with it. I would
yeah,
not want to, because I simply, okay, they're ignorant, and that way, if the player has a function that that character would of course know a bit, then
yeah,
I will simply
Moody's,
tell the player, you know this,
yeah,
and so on and forth. But if the character has no reason to obviously know what it is, I just run with it, and that will get consequences. What happened? The character can't stop bad things from happening, or they kind of screw up, or something like that, meaning that gets implications of the continuum of the story. So players who kind of don't figure out things and so on, that is kind of great, and that sets them back in a bit, which often means that it's often it's not the successes in game that you talk about, it's the things that get screwed up. Those are often the best. When they almost fail and they have almost a TPK is usually the best gaming sessions ever, not the one when they slaughter everything and find the treasure and rescue the kingdom and they're good. It's the one where the kingdom fell apart first and they almost screwed up, and then they manage to mend it, or even they even fail and now they have to deal with the consequences. Might be the best
Yeah.
stories ever.
Easy is not fun.
Exactly. You need to failure in campaign is often better from a fun, creating a fun, interesting game standpoint. Yeah.
uh, you're absolutely correct. So Rox just put something in that reminded me of one of those giants in the earth. They did an evil Keebler elves once. I think Roger Moore did it, and he just put one of my
Keebler
first
elves.
groups did not know the Keebler elves, which
Well,
is
what are
true.
the Keebler elves? Yeah.
That's true. I mean, sometimes you'll really outsmart yourself as a DM. You'll be like, "Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh!" It was so funny. Because they had the Jolly Green Giant in one of them too. I remember in that in a Dragon magazine, and he was standing over the fields of corn and peas and stuff, overseeing the production. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So
You liked all the humor issues.
I do. I love that stuff because I love the wit in it, and that's why I think I loved Wormy so much. I love Phineas Figures so much. There was a lot of there was double entendres in it, you know. S-
Well, definitely with Wormy and Phineas. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely was. But that's a good point. Is that like you need to use, and I do this a lot, and I got to watch myself. The political comment, not political commentary, but what's going on at the time. And you could see that last night. I had the hockey goalie names for the Crips from the
Yeah.
'90s, you know,
Yeah.
as the Crip names, and but like I got characters from movies that throw in around,
Yeah,
Blade.
I try to avoid stuff like that. I,
Mhm.
I, I have more in the happenings. I steal ideas and plot points and stuff from the real world, but I try to make up fantasy names to kind of create the world that is different, so to speak. So I try to, and I don't like the real cultural analogies, meaning I don't want the China there and
No,
India
I agree.
and a kind of, yeah, I don't want to have these kind of thing. I want
Yeah.
the Flan and
Yeah.
the Baklunish and the
Mhm.
Sulwas
Oh
not
yeah,
to be
But
similarities to real world cultures. No.
I
yeah.
steal more. I like historical stuff, but I steal more from popular fiction and
Hmm.
cinema
Yep.
of
Yeah.
those
That's what.
areas
Yeah,
that
Yep.
like I want something to be like Errol Flynn, Captain Blood,
that's
which
cool.
it might have some historical basis at some point, but it's a pirate picture. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not as farcical as they go for today. And in some ways, it's even sillier in their fight scenes and stuff. But I always like to tinge my reality with popular concepts
I
of
agree.
that reality, rather than try to
Yeah.
bring. My campaign does not deal with terrible,
No,
serious issues.
same
I,
here.
I mean, um,
I get that. I
I
guess
leave
that's.
that for the real world.
Oh.
Yeah, my political commentary is more of farcical.
Well, no, I might deal with thoughtful issues,
Yeah,
but I mean specifically, like some things go too far.
yeah, absolutely.
Some things are just too graphic or painful or disgusting, and I just don't. That's just not where I have fun running a campaign. Whereas, thoughtful, I'm fine with. So, broad issues that might be timely, fine, I'm good with that. But just like in specifics, I don't need to go into like certain aspects of the real world. So, like, uh, I just don't bother touching them in my kind of campaign. Now, I
Yes,
wanted to tell you this story
go for it.
because all right, this relates to character origin.
Okay.
Years ago, back in the 80s, I went back to college and I was working my way through paying for it by being a bouncer at a local bar. And I find the bouncers, played a D&D game. And we found out that the waiters and waitresses were playing a D&D game too,
Really?
only they wouldn't tell us about it. And we happened to know people who knew both, and we sat in on overheard one of their sessions, and we found out that what they had done is one of their major locations was the bar where we were working, and all the bouncers were characters in their game who
That's
they got
Oh
to come
wow.
in and slap around. So all of us were NPCs, named NPCs in their role playing game. But
That's
their heroes got to come in and like make us cry and slap
that's
our hands.
funny.
Oh,
Oh
that
yeah.
is
That
fantastic.
is funny.
Yeah. Mm.
Ah, that's
We
good.
talk about, life imitating, getting inspiration from.
Wow,
So
Yep.
that is ironic
they
that
had a
a
fun.
bar that people in bars back in the '80s were actually playing D&D. When you think about it, that's kind of wow. You know? Guess
Well, college town though.
right. That's true.
Yeah.
There was probably a little bit. It was probably a little more underground culture than where there was probably a lot more people than we thought it was more
Well,
taboo back then, but there was a lot more playing. And now
well,
it's happening.
I mean, everybody was playing, the early '80s when I was in high school, and there were people who didn't, but it was so prevalent that
Yeah.
you weren't going to get laughed at for playing Dungeons and Dragons back in the '70s and '80s. And then I hear later that in the '90s, you didn't want at college, you didn't want to admit to playing Dungeons and Dragons. That's like when you went to college in the early '80s, it was everywhere.
Yeah. That was the PC
Yeah.
Um,
time.
I mean, a big change over there. And I guess today, from what it appears like people are playing that college and high school. They're playing really D&D's back in
Oh, it is big
forefront
time. Yeah,
than
I know a
ever.
lot of people whose children are in college, and yeah, absolutely, definitely a big deal. So, and that's the thing, you go back to your time, and yeah. So Bishop ADD goes as back far as you and me, Jason, and then
Yeah.
he goes all the way back to that pre '80s time, and then the Phantom's '90s, and everyone has their time frame, and that's cool that you keep your friends together, and that's if you're lucky to, like I have, and a couple other people that are listening. So, but you can take commentary too. I'm not saying this is too far, but you can take it to the point where it's a little corny. I'm going to show you guys a pic, and you guys decide for yourself if this was too corny by Jay in the late '90s, early 2000s. Okay, I'll just show you a pic, and you decide. Here's the pic of two characters in my campaign. They're in the Shieldlands. You probably know them. They're great paint jobs. Yes, you have
That's
a
the one with
you have
the rifle.
a dark skinned human with a crossbow, but he's actually was born. He was actually birthed by a woman who had vampirism, was bitten by a vampire, and his good friend, the specialty priest of Merlin, with a shotgun.
Oh God. Wade.
Yes, it's yeah. I use him by his real name, Eric and Whistler. Yeah, they're in the Shieldlands or Scouts, So there you go. So was that corny or not? you know, it's not worse than Poo Poo and Kaka. So who's next on
No,
it?
but Poop and Cock I love much more because they're still very fantasy and
Oh, they are
yeah,
very fantasy.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I have problem with getting guns and stuff in there. That's kind of
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
off limits for me. But on the other hand, a lot of people like to cross genres and do
I
fusion kind of play.
thought they were going to
I
be
did.
crocked in tubs.
That would have been awesome, Crockett and Tubbs. Oh my God, with the shirts and all. The ever mysterious Tim has joined us, everyone.
Yeah.
So,
Damn.
Hello.
Tim, who called the Juggernaut last night 2 seconds before it appeared, and he didn't read the module. So
Didn't read the module.
yeah, absolutely.
It was the sounds of machinery that made me feel bad. I had that bad feeling. And
Yeah.
also, you had hinted at it being quite deadly.
Yeah, of course,
And those two those two match nicely.
Yes, absolutely. And it brought back the feeling of your dad's character Abdul being crushed underneath it.
Well, it made me think back to the Temple of Elemental Evil.
That's the first sighting I've ever seen of a Juggernaut.
Yeah.
I actually have that picture from the back where it looks like it looks like a rook, a horse head. You know?
Yeah. It's really.
It's iconic. It's definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, Tim's walking.
Yeah, I'm walking
around. All right, guys. So it's almost 9. We're gonna do open questions now for the next half hour. How's that sound? We haven't done that in a long time. So I want you guys to throw out some stuff, whether it pertains to my campaign, what you're doing as a DM, anything you want. We'll answer them, and let's just see where this goes. How's that sound? Sound good for everyone, Jason, Anna? Sound good?
Yeah, definitely.
All right,
Yeah.
so throw something out there, and we're really doing a lot of commentary on the game DMing, and this character originations one has kind of gone into that direction. That's cool. That's the great thing about a talk show is you can go almost anywhere you want to go. And now we won't get any questions, but that's all right. We'll so. I would like to say that
Tim's got that Blair Witch Project cam going.
Yes, he does. He's probably heading into the basement because he's being punished or something. So,
Yeah.
all right. What about taking?
It's
I'll
light
start.
management when the ladies are watching their lady movie.
Oh
and they gotta make
no!
sure the
What movie
lights
is it tonight?
are-
Don't
They're
say
watching Little Women.
Oh gosh!
on TV.
I was going to say Devil Wears Prada, and I was going to have to come over there and. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
no. They're watching a classic, so I can't criticize too much. It's just.
How many of you have taken? I'll start. Oh wait, here we go.
Yeah.
Thoughts on WGM1 Border Watch? Any good? For second edition, it's very linear. Okay, it's okay. It's good because it takes place in Ulick, right? That's kind of cool, right? Border. So it's not, and that's my neck of the woods. But retro, it's okay. It is. They were, I guess, Anna, Jason, when they started doing second edition stuff, it kind of got a little, because right in that Greyhawk Wars era, it kind of everything got so militarized, like over the top militarized.
Well, yeah, Sergeant turned it into kind of a strategic war game for a bit there. So.
I'm can militarize.
Oops.
Tim, you're just as bad. So you and Jason are
Yeah.
competing.
Yeah, we have two network issues here.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
Yeah, it's a double whammy. Go for it, one of you. Let's see who. Go ahead, Jason. Try it.
Oh, well, no, I was just saying the Wars era was not a good era for adventures or anything, really, from my point of view. It really took somebody like Sargent to delve into it and give it its own flavor to get things moving for a lot of people. And, so WGM doesn't really stack too high for me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You know what? If you take that adventure and use the maps in it, and you want to make that a setting and do stuff off of it, then it's good. Then it's good because you got a basis to start something. But if you're running it straight through as just an adventure, it's okay. But you could utilize that stuff. Yeah, you could also utilize all the keeps and fortresses that are already there from someone's campaign. But just kidding. Yes. So that's it. Yeah, exactly. It's okay. So. I'm going to throw one out there. So Tom wants me to talk about the RCA influence on NPCs and the God program. So we had a program, a D&D program for character generation and doing some other things. I wrote on a Commodore 64 in BASIC, and it took me forever to figure out how to do it because I didn't know how to do a go sub routine back then. But once I finally figured out how to do go sub, then it came together. But yeah, we had myself, Tom, and my friend Steve and Alan all worked at RCA back in the 80s in the summers. And we would just gosh, this is awful. We're college students. There were people that needed to be NPC there. There was one guy who he looked like, I swear he was a dark elf, and he was a dark elf in disguise. He was we had we had the famous bounty hunter DePaulo comes from a worker there, and I've incorporated him into the Temple of Elemental Evil. And he was actually a hired bounty hunter for the Earth, I think, aspect of Temple of Elemental Evil. He escaped at the end after Temple of Elemental they defeated it in 1987, and he took revenge on Gazumba and the group, and he ended up killing Gazumba's wife with a mage in Sphere of Annihilation. So there you go. We had all those sorts of connections. But yeah, 20 go to 10. Wait a minute. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like, oh man, a ghost subroutine. You can go back to the start. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Yeah. So, what critical hit fumble system do you use? Oh my gosh. Oh, and it's downstairs. Wait a minute. Is it downstairs? I left it downstairs.
But you can talk about it in principle.
Well,
Where did it come
It
from?
started with good hits and bad misses, though.
Yes, it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
It did. And so we have a custom table that is the best of all time, man. Blood Wild. We do. I used it last night. I always use it. Alan tweaks it constantly. There's up to foo bars. There's triples. There's massive criticals. There's crazy fumbles, grind pulls, dislocated shoulders.
I like the feature. I like the. Can I talk? Can I talk about the feature? I like. I'll wait if you're.
No, go for it. Go.
I really like how he looks at the power players, because sometimes if you miss, the stronger you are, the harder it is to pull something out, because you have to roll your strength or over. Because if you're 18 strength, when you miss and stick it into something, you're really sticking good. So now getting it out is way harder than if you're just 12 strength. So I like all those that like kind of slap the power strong people or the high powered players stats.
Yeah, and it's a reverse. It's a reverse 20 save. So, yeah, and they're awesome, and I always share them with anyone who wants them, and you see them all the time in functioning in our game always. And so we didn't have a really bad one. So this is what happened, and I said this right at the beginning of the show. I had this super souped up 7 attacks every 2 rounds fighter runs over to last night. Alan Growe's Wild Elf and Scott Casper's Boars, his fighter, runs over, goes to stab the Wild Elf, fumbles, falls, and stuns herself for 4 rounds. I was like, you gotta be shit. And that was it. I mean, just she didn't hit one time, and that's what happens when you get a little cocky. So.
If you watch enough UFC fights, you see some really world-class people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do something dumb in the beginning.
Jason, you use crits or fumble tables?
Oh, of course. And again, right from you guys, the good hits and bad misses started me off, but it wasn't, exactly what I was looking for. And I run a symbolic combat. I don't look at a 1-for-1 relationship, there's this kind of thing like with Star Wars where they always had the force points and things. So I always had combat isn't exactly 1-for-1. So you're not going to get every arrow that you've been hit with isn't sticking out of you, and every arrow that misses hasn't actually thumped into you. So when I did good hits and bad misses and then fumbles and crits, it became my way of adding some very specific stuff and damage. And especially one of the things that my players loved was the fact that I had on from some game, I think it was Aftermath, I had these full body character sheets that showed you where you were wounded. And so they would get a collection of scars.
Yes.
So it was like the scars tissue. So when they got a critical hit against them and they had some severe wound, it would put a scar on them, and they got to put it down on their sheet. and so they would have scars, they have missing fingertips,
But that is a
but they
cool.
loved it. It added character.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
think that's a great idea. That you should, yeah, you should get a scar somewhere. Yep.
Because Aftermath, it's got 30 locations.
Aftermath was
So it's
nasty
pretty
and
detailed.
fun, and I say,
I love
Tim,
it.
some point we need to stream a game of you GMing it.
Okay.
Oh my gosh! And get those old characters out. Is Richardson still around?
You want to go? You want to go way
Sam and
back?
Richardson.
We'll go the way back.
Come on,
Sam and
I have a
Richardson.
gyrocopter like from the Road Warrior. Of course, I
That's
wanted
right.
to use that character. Oh my!
I would say if you want to do a real gritty.
We lost him again.
Yep.
You lost your sound.
Lost your
Jason.
sound again.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. All right.
The extreme.
Jason, we lost you again.
You do the hit location to the extreme. But you take that BattleTech combat system,
Right.
and you know, the armor's disappearing, and then you get these wounds that go down to the bone. It's a gruesome system, but it's real gritty. It was meant for giant robots, but you can use it for fantasy combat.
Yeah, and the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay ones that Tim uses are just as gross, guys. So if you want really gross, you go to those too. They're nasty. I mean, just seriously, you do not
I
want to get
keep
critical
hoping
hit.
to see some really good ones.
Yeah, all of them, all three ideas. Ours are tame compared to the BattleTech one that Jason's talking about, and especially the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay ones. Absolutely. All right, so Retro Gamer Meth has a really interesting question pertaining to my campaign, so I'm going to take it. Right? Question about your Thursday night game. What module was that module you're on homebrew? Rescue in the Cairn Hills is completely my own. 95% of what I run are my own. And it seemed a lot of the items seem foreign to me. So I make up a lot of magic items that are deviations or variations or and then figuring out what to give out at the end is a balancing act. You got to figure out your players. You got to figure out how quickly people get bored, and you got to try and keep stuff interesting. But I love tweaking items. I especially love giving like weapons special effects. And you guys all saw that in your character sheets from the conventions. Everyone had probably one item. Like Anna, you have Brecknell, which is right from the Slavers reference, by the way. But it's a great item. It has the soul and spirit of a paladin inside it. Right, really cool item. So I love doing that. I love customizing and maybe giving a spear, a +1 spear with cure light wounds once per day on it. You know, a spear of healing. You know what I'm saying? All those kind of neat things you can do. So. Oh man! So that's the thing. Customization is the key to making things interesting. So, oh my gosh, we got another Merlin spoon. We got another Merlin spoon here out of the Undertacana. You know, you want to change it up sometimes and make things a little different. Yeah, yeah. The amount of items. So unique items itself. No. There's two ways of dealing with overabundance of items. Number one. You can either get a little box and have a little bow on the top, and then when they get it, poof, and then Morning Cane's disjunction goes off, which Tim.
You're welcome.
Yes, or you need to really look at items down the road. I like giving out one useful item per player, maybe during each adventure. Limit it to that. One per. That's useful. It doesn't have to be fantastic, but useful per adventure tends to be a good spot. What do you guys think about that? On an
I'll be
average.
back in a second, guys.
Yeah, no problem, Jason. What do you think, Anna, about that question?
For me, it's not so much, and there goes again. I don't think so much in game mechanics terms or what's good with game. I simply say what kind of items should be in the world for the world to make sense. Meaning, to me, items don't lay around locked in chests waiting for adventurers to come and get them. They might locked in a chest, but then it's a powerful person who wants to either use it for his own purpose because they are the ones that can finance them and have the means to create them usually, and also he either wants to use it himself, he or she, but it also might be that he wants prevent anyone else from getting to the item. That might be one of the reasons he's locked in there, but they're not in ancient tombs forgotten that often. Most of the items are actually either actively in use. If you want to find a +5 sword, you have to go out and find the most powerful warriors because they are usually the ones having them. So
Absolutely.
the ones that are bodyguards to the king or the king himself or the ruler of the elite warrior of a fighting order or of a cult or something like that. They have a lot of money and influence and resources. They are the ones to have a +5 sword. So and then you have to kill them or become a member of the order and rise in the ranks. That way you get it, so to speak.
I can't even remember the last time I gave out a Holy Avenger +5. It's got to be 25 years. I
Yeah, I
don't.
think I've had two powerful weapons of that caliber. Yeah, but for me, it's been most Holy Avengers are not. They're not made +5. They
Right.
grow with the character, meaning they get them as a masterwork sword and they're paladin, and then as they do good deeds and stay in good loyal with their deity, that's when they get pluses and the weapon slowly becomes a
Oh
Holy
yeah,
Avenger
I like that
and 4
idea.
plus.
It's
Yeah.
scalable. Scalable with the character is a great idea.
Oh yeah, it's simple and it simply stays that way and regresses if they don't do good if they stray from the faith, the sword loses its power, so to speak. So yeah.
All
It
right.
helps
So
the character stay in discipline.
yes,
Yeah. Mhm.
Tim, this is a fantastic question from Retro Gamer Meth that I have to answer this. What do they do with items they replace? Okay, so this is what we do. Especially in Greyhawk and Altamira and Hardby and major cities, they're allowed to post them on, like, if there's a mercenary guild hall, they can post them at the guild hall because people are always trying to buy stuff, but someone has to want to buy it. I never ever give out an item unless it's in a true role play sense for them to sell back unless it's like 50% of the cost at best. At best, okay. In the course of gameplay, you can't just have them selling off all their old stuff and getting the money for it. Make them post it. Make them wait 2 or 3 adventures till someone buys it. That's the way you deal with it. So it becomes a little bit of a nuisance,
Or
right?
you have a backup sword.
Yeah, that's what you want to do. I think you
But
want.
actually,
Yeah,
as we're talking, this is going to be this might come up on the 25th.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Phantom, a holy adventure +3 is a good idea. I like if you read my Varnafane article in the Last Earth Journal, I like axes that are +3, but in the hands of dwarves are +5 with special abilities. I like those as legendary rare items, right? And that's something you can do too. So, Jason, you back? You are muted. You were muted. That time you're muted. Jason's index. Jason's index is an invaluable resource. Absolutely. Let me post it here. Let me see if I got this under the raid announcements.
Am I back now?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you're back.
Yep.
Well, unlike you guys, I never tell players pluses.
Wow.
I make a note where they've gotten an item from, and they have to find out what it does before they can use it. I mean, they can use a +3 axe. They just don't know it's a +3 axe. It's just a magic item is going to give some indication that it's magic. It doesn't need to be sharpened. It looks wonderful. But a magic item that might be a magic item anyway. They wouldn't know it. And they get used to that kind of thing in the kind of campaign I run.
Yeah.
But
For me, it's up to the
let's say they
type
find.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, if they find a wand or a staff or something they think does something, they have to go through the steps to find out what it does. But they only find out about it in game terms.
Right.
I try to keep the mechanics away from the players as much as possible, so that they, my.
There, you got zapped. You got zapped.
Yeah.
He got zapped.
But my comment to that is that to me it's very much like if some newbie that barely has sorry, go on.
But I know the numbers. I mean, I always think the game mechanics, the numbers are for the DM. The players, that's not their problem. I don't want them to see a rule book.
Right.
I didn't see spells spelled out except in game terms.
My issue is it's just because of my burden of having 2,000 characters is I can't keep track of all that. I have to have it on the sheet.
Bookkeeping. Bookkeeping.
Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead, Anna. You got a comment to that?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say for me it's like if someone newbie that barely has a level in anything and then doesn't have a skill, if they find a sword, they will have to figure. They don't know the pluses and the minuses and any of the features of it. But if a 10th level fighter picks up a sword and wields it, meaning he's an expert, they can sense how good that sword is. They can sense the balance and whatever. They just need to use it once in combat, and they will figure it out instantly. So for me, it's like it's if a wizard, meaning a newbie holds a staff and they have no clue, meaning that's a piece of wood that waving around if like a regular person, but the 12th level wizard would know almost instantly what that is, because it's expertise. So I want to play to, if that character would know what that is, then I instantly tell them. They might even look at it, meaning the 12th level or 14th level fighter that perusing a bunch of weapons that someone else wielding, he can see that an opponent has a +3 sword because he actually knows. He's a specialist in that weapon. He can sense it, how the character moves with it and stuff like that. They can sense that enemy has +6 on each roll or +8 or something like that, because that's what being skilled in combat. But the wizards that is desperately defending himself with his staff would not have a clue what that kind of weapon is and how much damage or the pluses. But he can, on the other hand, he can sense that someone is casting a certain spell, and he can do counter spelling because magic.
Well, that's
yeah.
And what I would say is like that 10th level fighter, I would say he sees the opponent's sword, and that is a damn fine looking sword.
Yeah.
He wants that sword.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is, instead of the pluses, I would say, that sword has an edge where you can see it glinting in the sun.
I describe it that way, and then I'll just mention the mechanics too.
And then what I've done after a long while is, it's been so long, I know, and I have until recently played nothing but my own 1E homebrew. So I knew this not only backwards and forwards, I knew it because I was the one who added stuff to it. And I got more and more to where I liked knowing the mechanics and having the mechanics, so the players knew that this wasn't make-believe. So they were rolling the dice for something, but they didn't know why. They had a good idea why, but they weren't 100% sure. It's like when they were hurt, I would tell them, "You're hurt. That blow really hit you bad, and you're feeling a little woozy on your feet." But I wouldn't tell them how many points they had or how many they had left. And they had to kind of figure out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like they're wandering around thinking, geez, I feel bad. Should I push on? And I'd give them things where, like, you missed that shot because you're so woozy, or you're stumbling, you're dropping blood left and right. But I loved throwing on the description. That's my
forte. You can use the health. If they have a medicine skill or something, they can roll and see. They can self-examine themselves and see if they could are near death or something. So
but all the time, instead of mechanic, I hate numbers. I hate telling players numbers, except unless they're counting gold pieces. I hate telling the mechanical numbers because it pulls them out of the game and it pushes them into accounting. I want them to be involved in the game.
That's a great point. Yeah,
For you,
I'm not as extreme,
Jason. For you, that works. For this,
but
there's no way.
Yeah, I'm halfway where Jason is, so to speak. I try to downplay the mechanics, and it's the scaffolding for playing, but it's there. But I don't want to emphasize it. It's because it just gets away from the story. Yeah,
but I don't want a story tell. I want those dice to mean something. I want and I want it to mean something to me too, because I'm playing the game, even though I'm DMing. And I want that to be real for me as it is for the player. So when I roll those dice, or when they roll the dice, I want that 20 to really stand out. And I want them, when they roll and you say, well, you've given them a good solid whack, I want it to be real. I want them to know that they had the chance to miss. And so I like there to be a rule system that is beyond me. And that makes the game real for me, and it makes the game real for the players.
Tim and I
But-
think in this regard, Tim and I are very similar, because we realize that our brains, due to what's all going on, are limited in capability with this.
Well, if I had one group with like 4 people, I could do that. I could totally do that. But
Yeah.
Jay, I mean, hey, you have too many, way too many. But I have too many. I have too many for me.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Jay,
be able to
you
do that.
also do a lot of the record keeping, meaning you keep track of people's hit points.
Oh
and
yeah,
all
like
that stuff.
if
Yeah, all
Tom's
you
on,
needed to do is not telling us, and you can do the same record keeping, but don't inform, and you will do what Jason is doing. Basically,
Well,
you already do the work.
I also
wanna
don't
say-
have the character classes you do.
yeah, 40 casts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bishop, thank you so very much. There we got 3 special hero points already for Thursday. That's awesome. 'Cause
Oh,
Mr.
yeah. I was going to say too. It's one of the most exciting games I've ever played. Was everybody knew their hit points? Everyone knew this, and all dice was rolled out, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
everybody knows. And so you know how many hit points you got left. You know. So when I'm rolling, whatever I roll, that was DM. Whatever I'm rolling, that's what's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so. Now, you can't really do that if you go, oh, you feel bad. Well, how bad do I feel? You feel really bad. Your blood's this, that.
Yeah.
And so they might, it's possible to feel like,
All
well, I
great
didn't know it was that
questions.
low. So I would want to know.
Yeah.
Unless
I mean-
there's certain keywords like you're seeing bright squirting arterial blood. That's a pretty good indicator.
Yeah.
Or
But it's also
Believe
part
me,
of,
I
you
can
got
have-
bubbles. You got bubbles coming out of your chest. Oh, that's not good. That's an indicator.
yeah.
Yeah. You got a lung puncher. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also up to certain players play the game because they love the stories and being together and play out adventures. Other people see it more as a game. They love the mechanics. They want to do the record keeping, and they want to
Yeah.
have the numbers. And for them, that it is a +5 something instead of a +4 something else is all the point. So and they're different people. Some people just love that. It's same thing in computer games, MMOs and stuff. Some people, if you hide all the numbers, for some people that will ruin the fun, because they want to, it's like finding the right golf club with all the right stats and stuff like that and stuff. That's the main point, and that's not wrong. It's just different flavors, and that's not like an absolute. You're not one camp or the other. I'm like halfway between one or the other. I want to downplay the mechanics, but it's still an essential part of the game.
But I'm not saying the mechanics aren't essential.
Yeah.
I'm just saying after
think
4
we-
years,
yeah.
I know the mechanics.
Yeah, and also in the beginning you can, but it's seasoned players that already know and run their own games. No point hiding much for them because they know what's there anyway, so to speak.
All
I
right,
like
bro.
it,
I mean,
the
sounds
talent
good.
set. That's funny.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Here's a question from the audience for the ever mysterious Tim.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How is the non-weapon proficiency going? And can I get a copy of it? And I didn't mean me. I meant who asked the question.
It is. I'd say it's at the 90%, and I'll be emailing it to Jay and company this week. I've already seen the initial
Yes.
cut, and I'll be sending it, and I'll be actually looking and saying, here's how many slots that you're going to get and to choose, so that we're going to do some retrofitting. That'll
Cool.
happen this week.
All right, cool.
And then let's play it once or twice before I send it out. And I'm plagiarizing heavily, so I mean,
So, all right. So, definitely, and I guess the answer is we will see about him giving that out once it's
I'm also
finalized.
making I'm modifying how we're doing combat a little bit, so it'll be interesting.
We have a Greyhawk. Yeah, we'll see how that goes, and I'm willing to try anything, definitely. All right, here's a question on the Greyhawk Adventures hardback, which should be right after this. Okay. Now, the answer to this question is this book here. If you're going to stay 1E, 2E retro, you need this book. Now, I wouldn't spend 50. I get it. However, if you're going to go to 5E, you get the Joe Block version of this with all the spells in it and all the stuff he's done for 5E that he has put out for free for everyone, and you don't need this book then, right? Because this book's got some cool stuff in it, but if you're looking for all the spells from everyone and all the wizardry stuff and all, you don't. I would go that direction. Depends on if you're going to be a 5, you're going to play 5E or you're going to play old school 1E, 2E. But my suggestion is get the City of Greyhawk box set before it, because I love that. I know Jason doesn't like the maps in it, but I love this set. It's my favorite. So there you go. Yeah, mint condition. That City Greyhawk, you should be able to get that for $20. I know maybe now at times everyone's bored and they're buying stuff off of eBay and they're buying stuff off of
there's
Amazon.
also available as a PDF. So
yeah,
if you
get
don't
it in
want
PDF
to,
too. Go drive through. It should be in there.
Yep.
DM's Guild and get it in PDF as well. Yeah, but it's a good book. But if you're not going to do old school 1E, 2E, you're going to do 5E, then Joe Block has converted it to what you need in his free publications out. Yep. So cool. We'll take one or two more because we're going to go late tonight on just a general chat thing has turned into, which is kind of. What was that?
I just checked drive-through when Greyhawk Adventures is there, $10 PDF.
$10 for a PDF there, Retro Gamer, right there, $10.
Yep.
So,
Jay? What's the origination highlights? Would you hit before I got on?
Not very much. We went around and just talked about some characters here and there, and bounced around and talked about the campaign. That was about what we did, man. It just came into a general question and answer night, man.
Yeah, very nice.
Yes. Yeah, okay, so Drive-Through RPG Bromium is part of Drive-Through RPG, DM's Guild. Kind of, I guess they're working with Wizards. Right on DriveThroughRPG.com.
Yeah, same company.
Same company, yeah.
If you have a password for one, you have a password, an account, login for the other.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where you want to go. So, yep. You can get it in softcover and they'll reprint it for you as well, which is a good thing.
I need to step out for a minute.
Sure.
I'll be back in a minute.
No problem. So DM's Guild has some stuff on it, some great references as well. So Tim, what would you? Something you'd like to bring up about character origination while we have that topic?
I thought about it so ahead of time, but I don't know if whatever you want to do. Whether we can talk about that, I can talk about that, or we can go to questions.
Yeah, go. Shoot us out what you were thinking about.
Well, I was thinking about with character origination, you can do it by party. You're putting together a party, or you can do it by story of the individual. And some of my favorite ones are low powered, and Nodnall is the one I'm thinking of, where every stat he has is average except for 14 comeliness, and he specializes. He's a fighter specialized with crossbow because he's not really that super strong or super tough, but he's super dexterous.
It's got all 10s, 11s, right? 10s and 11s.
Yeah, it's like 10s and 11s and a 14 comeliness. So he's not bad looking. And
it's a normal everyday guy.
And crossbows can be nasty. They get nastier. The higher level he goes, it gets nastier.
There's a lot you can do with a very basically statted character in 1E, 2E. There's a lot you can do.
Nodnall?
Nodnall, yeah.
Nodnall, yeah.
That's not from Red Dwarf, is it?
It probably is.
I don't. Red Dwarf?
Yeah.
Red Dwarf was funny.
I don't think so. I don't even know what that is.
It's a British.
It's British comedy shit.
Yeah. You know what Blake 7 is, right? There's right. Blake 7 was cool too.
The name, but yeah, Nodnall. Nodnol. I was very young when I made up that name, so.
It is. It's London spelled backwards.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Didn't even realize it.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I did. Maybe I was taking words and do it backwards. I've done that.
There's a backwards episode of Red Dwarf where they come to London and it's Nodnall. That's what stuck with me.
Yeah. He may have. His dad may have been watching it or something back in the day because they had a lot of that on PBS. And
I think that was just I might have looked at the word and done it, but
Yeah.
we're going way back to single, maybe
Whew.
just barely double digits in age. So,
Ugh.
but anyway,
All right, one last product question. Cool.
All right.
Drive-through order. I have Secret of Bone Hill. Beautiful. Night Below. Jason loves Night Below.
Oh yeah.
And City of Greyhawk, also beautiful. Okay. Last item is Scarlet Brotherhood. Is that all right? So I am not a fan because I don't like how far they took Scarlet Brotherhood. But that's me. I love
Yeah.
the Slavers reference 1,000 times that was just up over Scarlet Brotherhood. That's why you never usually see Scarlet Brotherhood in my scroller. But that's just personal. I think the Slavers reference is brilliant. Plus, the artwork in it by Wayne Reynolds is unbelievable.
Oh, you love the Wayne
I
Reynolds.
love it. So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Scarlet Brotherhood, but if you use it wisely, I think it'd be a good reference to use. If you want to go that direction in your campaign, yes. But for me, Mike, if he's on, Mike Bridges agrees. Them taking over the Sea Princes has just never happened in my game ever. I can't deal with that. So, yeah, they took from the Ashes stuff in this box set, which was great, a little too far in my opinion. And I undid some of the things, or they never happened in my game. But that's my liberty as a DM to do that. So, I would.
That's,
What were you saying, Jason?
that's Roger Moore era.
Yeah.
That's the Roger Moore era.
Yeah.
Player's Guide, Tab. The Adventure Begins, and the Slavers, the Scarlet Brotherhood. They were trying to do things with Greyhawk, but it didn't go very far. And the Scarlet Brotherhood just, again, it's a choice of direction. If I'd say give it a try. If you like the taste of it, then go
Yeah.
for it. If you want to steal things from it, that's traditional. It didn't really touch my heart, but I have my own. I'm heavily Gygaxian. I'm not a big Sergeant fan. I'm
Yeah.
not a big Moore.
I believe that the hardcore old schoolers retro on here would agree with me that Slavers is way better than Scarlet Brotherhood for what I do. So, so that hopefully that helped you out with that question. So, Jason's face is half covered in. Yeah, how'd that happen,
Oh,
Jason?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
you're
I-
behind stuff.
Oh,
here.
you know why? Because he came back. It's my fault. He came back and logged, and now you're in different spots. It's actually my fault here.
And I knocked over my laptop here, so I had to readjust.
Oh, okay. There you go. I'll give you a little more room there. My bad. So, yes.
Yeah, get
So,
most of the beard.
yeah. So, cool. All right. So, one or two more, and then we'll go to our commentary for the end here. Any of you guys want to bring up any topics for discussion while we're? Yeah. So I was up till 3:00 last night. I could not get to sleep after that game last night. I am freaking beat. I got to work tomorrow too. So.
I conked out at 12:30. I couldn't make it to the
Oh, you
end.
missed the ending. Anna almost died 3 times.
Oh yeah, I was
Urtanol.
close. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She went down to 17, then did a
Down
circle.
to 2, and then up
Down-
6,
yeah,
and
multiple
back up
times,
again.
so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the raid drained me.
We were fighting the vampires. It didn't look good.
The vampires were awful. I could not hit
Mhm.
to save my life. Didn't drain anyone. It was bad.
That's because Reginald was there.
Yes, it's because Reginald.
Yep.
Yes,
Mhm.
Reginald was there. And you're right, Tim. I did make up the gust of wind.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew
I was
it.
like,
I knew that was
I
enough
gotta
nonsense.
I gotta get these guys in the room, or this fight's
Hey,
never going to end.
It was a good idea, though,
It
wasn't
was a
it?
good
With that
idea,
stinking
but I
cloud
did
was a great
sulky on
idea.
that. I'll admit to my shortcomings in the DM. I cheated. So we'll put
You cheated big time. 'Cause
Yeah, but
they,
guess
they
what?
would've- They could have walked through. They might have made it.
Yeah, but this way, you killed them all anyway. So, right? Absolutely. So, do I have any custom tables used in making characters up? No, I don't think we do. We don't have any custom reference tables
Yeah.
to make characters up, but we have a custom way of doing it. We use one of the generation methods in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and then yeah, Jay always has shenanigans. So, yeah, everyone. Go ahead,
I
Jason.
was going to ask Anna if Pathfinder does the skill system. I assume it does.
Yes, yeah. First edition has the roughly the same as 3.5, just a little bit adjusted. The second edition Pathfinder is doing it differently.
See, you can imagine I'm in first edition. I give people those tables of skills as like choices to help them define their character, but they don't choose skills as a thing they're going to roll against. You know, it's like if they there's a skill about knowing how to do blacksmithing or rowing a boat or riding a horse, that's just part of their character. And if they don't tell me to begin with, they're going to have to learn along the way. So if like later on they say, well, I don't know how to ride a horse, and I say, well, you never told me, so you don't. They're going to have to go through that beginning thing where you're falling off the horse. And they're good riders to begin with. And it'll just be a little something to go along with the adventure. There's always a problem with skill systems that try to quantify things I always felt should be role playing. Like I said, if you character knowledge, I always felt that was an expression of the role playing.
Yeah, for me, the way I use it, take like riding a horse. Anyone could sit on the horse and basically who grew up in a fantasy world and get the horse to go from A to B. The problem comes if you want to fight on it, if the dragon comes chasing you and the horse gets stressed and stuff. That's when it matters to have the skills. Meaning, if you all of a sudden you have a spear and you want to have the horse riding against enemies right away, then all of a sudden it becomes you need to be a master horseman to do that. But if just put your backpack and get the thing to go in a slow trot from the village to the city, that anyone can do that. That's like a DC 5 to do it. So anyone who has reasonable intelligence or wisdom or whatever skill can do it, so to speak. You don't need a skill for that or anything. It comes when that horse get terrified or when that horse see another horse they want to be buddies with. That's when the problem comes. And so that's how I use it. So it's not as I use it as to try to use it to enhance stories and stuff. Anyone can try and
Yeah.
establish the value of a gem or some jewelry and stuff, but they come up with some ridiculous number and get in trouble and stuff. They might be lucky. So skills are for things anyone can try build a house. It's just that when the strong wind come and winter comes, then the real builders will be seeded out from the ones that just saw a house and then copied it.
So, guys, anyone who I owe a winning to, all that stuff's going out this week because my post office has finally figured out what to do. I wasn't about to go, so I was not going in there. No, now I can get into my post office and get that stuff out. So I owe 3 sets of dice. I owe a package to Nova Scotia for a mouse pad, and I owe Rox his winnings from last night. Everything else has gone out already, so I'll get that all out to everyone. Yeah. So cool, guys. Look at that, man. We went long, which is amazing because we didn't really talk about the topic that much tonight, but that's all right. It was cool.
I've got like 4 pages of notes that I researched. I was talking to Gary about going into his company of 7, and I barely mentioned it.
Well, guess what? You know what? We can save it. We can save it for another discussion at another time,
Yeah.
Because I still, yes, always a follow-up show or something. I haven't even named the Gabbin for next week yet. I'm really getting a little behind because last night, with having new people playing, I really wanted to make sure that was my whole mental stress at that point to get that done. And so, yeah, no problem, man, no problem. Mike, I really appreciate you asking those questions. So, all right, let's start. Jason, what we got going on, man?
Well, right now I'm actually settled to do a nation book. And I've been posting over the past posts about Blackmoor, Land of the Thousand Witches. It's my own take on Blackmoor and the Land of Black Ice. And so finally I decided, well, look, I have enough posts behind me. I want to describe a nation book, like the old Mystara Gazetteers that described the 5 shires or the Orcs of Bar, So I've actually taken the Gazette from Astara as my about what I want to say and how I want to say it. So bit by bit, from the
What a shame.
We lost him again. Yeah.
We'll just wait.
Yep, he will come back again. He will shift down to every time he's been
about
pausing a bit. There he comes again.
everything that players should know. So that's my big project, and around it, I'm doing my normal. I feel like writing a post, so I'm going to write a post. I've done a post on the armies of the Flasks.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm posting up my encyclopedia because with this new Chromebook, it won't let me work on a big file like my encyclopedia quickly anymore. I'm trying to get that out there. I'm talking with Gary Hall and on CF where I can. So it's a number of different. I do my minstrel tales. We were talking about how, and I take and I turn them into little bits of Greyhawkness. So all that's going on.
Well, Jason, hopefully next time we have you back on, which is supposed to be on Wednesday, we get some more of the sound worked out. We'll try and figure something out.
I'll see if I can cut down on the Wi-Fi. Get an Ethernet cable.
Yes.
That'll help a lot. That'll help a lot. That definitely will. So that would be cool between now and then, definitely. So appreciate that, man. Thank you. Anna, what we got?
I've been still been kind of tied up in Cobalt Press Land or Midgard for a few more days, but that is coming to an end. But so the next thing I've been doodling a little bit because I needed a diversion with something really fun and interesting. So I worked out the how to go about doing my turning the Flannies into GIS technology. So I have some really cool, more kind of technical background stuff on that. It's not that much fun to look at yet, but it's very promising technology wise. So that is something I want to blog post about soon, how I will go about doing stuff like that. So for all the map geeks out there, this could be really interesting to see. So put elevation data in a kind of efficient manner in for the whole Flannies. That's the basic of it.
Yes,
And,
a topographical map.
Yes, a real topographical map. So yeah, and how go about doing it, so to speak. That's the stuff, because it's kind of it's much trickier than meets the eye to begin with, so to speak. That's something real, because there are no tools to do that on a scale on that level. There is no way you can generate all sorts of things and randomly create planets. There are 10 tools they can do that beautifully, but one that can recreate a planet that already exists, none. There are no tools for that, so you have to basically invent that yourself, and that's the tricky bit. And then I'm also going to I'm working on getting the first atlas page out, so there will be like the template page, and I have some cool ideas on how to do that. So that's something I will sit down and get the first page out for next week. So that is coming out, and I had the new heraldry last week. A few days ago, I dug into and found that it was a whole bunch of heraldry. And there's some new stuff that was kind of fun. One of the new players, people that came in and asked to be a member of the Flannies Geographical Society Facebook group, he actually pointed out a place that he thought was cool, and it's not on my map. So I realized that, damn, I forgot to put that on the map, because I knew about the place, but I forgot to put it on the map. So that's good. So that's always great when someone finds something that I've forgotten. The Yellow Reach is a little village or town on the slopes of the White Plume Mountain.
Ah.
Yes, and I forgot to put. I have mentioned it in my campaign. I've talked about it and stuff, but I forgot to put it on the map. So yep.
See.
So
Beautiful.
it's on my campaign map, but I forgot to put it on my public map. For some reason, I thought it was something I made up, but I realized it's actually in the White Plume Mountain Adventure. So yep. So that needs to go there. So next update, it will be there. So yep.
And guys, I say this almost every show, but it's the best $5 Patreon you can get.
Thank you.
You know what I mean, guys? Look at all the goodies, especially if you're a Greyhawk person. You'd need the maps. You need all the heraldry's awesome, and you know, it's really enhanced our campaign over the last 2 years, 100%. So,
Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
no problem. Tim, what's going on? Well, we're getting close, aren't we?
Getting close. Just wrapping up the combat proficiencies and non-weapon proficiencies.
Good.
Finalizing the festivities that will be had on the 25th.
Yep. Tim will be DMing for me and the rest of the crew in his City State of the Invincible Overlord campaign on our
It is
Saturday
going to
special.
be. It will
2
be
weeks.
role play heavy.
Good.
But there will be some action.
Looking forward to it because I have seen the Overlord once in all my years. I've never met the Overlord, my character Dervillia, my Cavalier, so maybe we'll see what happens.
I will be sending you some sample oaths of fealty so you can write up your proper oaths in the right way, because
Yeah, that's not happening.
you wouldn't want to embarrass yourself in front of all the lords,
Yeah.
not doing a good job.
Dervillia is not about, pomp and circumstance. You know that. But that's okay, yes. Send them!
She might have to get better.
Yes, Wildlands game, City State. The ad I do at the beginning, that's Tim's. All those things are from Tim's game that we do. I do that on, and it's good for. It feels good to play once in a blue moon, and that's why it's part of our Saturday night special rotation.
I was working on all that. I don't know if you can see can you see the building?
Yeah, there's all the terrain for it that we're not going to probably utilize.
Yeah. Not going to do the 3D.
Because he was going to bring. Tim was. Yeah. Tim is the Overlord. Yes, he is, Lo. He is definitely the Overlord. So there's no doubt about that. But what a fun campaign! And like I said, I have 2 characters. That's it. It's a little different than mine, where everyone's got multiples. It's I've had 2 characters for all these years. Wildlands with Conan sounds like a cool thing. Sure. I'm not going to ever say ass hurt the bear again. Oh, I just did, I guess.
Yeah.
I sure said that.
The Wilderlands is good because you have the Altanian Peninsula, and that's perfect.
Yeah. Tim, we've never run across the Conan Knights in that campaign, but yeah, I wouldn't doubt Tim would one day throw them in.
Well, some of the barbarians are similar.
Yeah, true. It is different. It's a great old school 1E game to get to change things up a bit, and you need a little change in your life every now and then, and that's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
So
I use the Wilderlands and a lot of their stuff, but at the time I didn't have the full maps when I made it, so I have my own world that the city state's in. So
yeah,
it's
heavily
borrowed.
It uses a lot of it.
Homebrew.
Yep. All right, guys.
That's all I got going on.
That's cool. All right, so Wednesday night, let's start there. Legends and Lore. We have a really cool Legends and Lore coming up where we're going to discuss all the great politics and guilds and locations in Greyhawk City. I'm trying to find I was not ready. I was not prepared. I get an F for failure here to pop up the banner. So, Greyhawk City is going to be the topic of discussion, but more specifically within Greyhawk City, politics, guilds, and locations. We're going to do that on Wednesday night in Legends and Lore. That'll be cool. Hopefully, Jason will have his thing connected a little better because Jason always has a lot of. He'll come at it from the Gygax Gourd Book perspective, which will be cool because Jason knows a lot about the Old Thieves Guild, Beggars Guild Wars, and I want to hear some more about that. And we lost Jason again, right? So hopefully Jason will be connected. Yeah, we lost you again, Jason. You're frozen completely. So get that Ethernet cable. Hopefully that helps. So that's a shame. I hear bounce back. Yeah, he's completely frozen on his end. So that's what we're gonna do on Wednesday. All right. And then Thursday, I have decided I'm going to take a break from writing and watch this Retro Gamer MFC. I actually am running something that I did not write, but I am editing. And so we're going to run out of Altamira, I believe, Old School Greyhawk Adventure 877, The Fallen Abbey. And that is by my favorite one-shot or two-shot light old school on drive-through RPG. It's called Creation's Edge Games. So here's The Fallen Abbey. I'm going to run this. Okay. I heavily modified and put in my campaign, but I run this gentleman's stuff every like 3 to 4 months. I run one. So I'm going to run that on, that way I don't have to create something from scratch this time and just edit it a little bit. And we're going to run that on Thursday night. And then Gabbin, next week's Gabbin is to be determined at this point. Oh, I even had the other thing of it, to be determined. So that's what's going on, guys. Thank you so very much for coming on and hanging. Wow, it's almost, we almost went, Jason's zonked there. He was completely frozen. Of course I get, yes, I guess I'm with the module, of course. I'm working on that now, but thank you all for coming on. Great miscellaneous topics of discussion off of the Originations, and we'll get back to a little more detail on that in our discussion, but this was good. It's good to go off the track sometime, so we'll see you all in a couple nights, as I'm gonna get a good night's sleep tonight, because I gotta do a lot of BS work when it comes to computer stuff tomorrow, and that's gonna drive me. I'm gonna fall asleep doing that. Hopefully, it's gonna be awful. You know, with that, the time and frame we're in, I'd rather be out on the road driving 6 hours.
You might have to make a stand-up station, Jay, so you can stay awake.
That's probably a good idea. So we'll see everyone. We'll see everyone a couple nights. Talk to you soon.
All right.
I'm admitting Jason back in.
I want to run a few things past you. I don't hear any Harbor Channel. I guess it's because you hear it on Twitch.
No, I don't do the voice on the end one. Yeah, thank you guys, thank you all. Hey, Greg, thanks.
You guys hear me?
Yeah. You zonked completely.
Video.
You were zonked out 100%.
I know. I couldn't. I had to leave the meeting and sign up again.
Yeah.
Is it working better without the video, though?
A little bit. Maybe we'll have to go back to without the vid. Maybe it is the video for.
Well,
So, all right, Tim.
Yeah, thank you everyone for watching and coming with all the awesome comments.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let me see if there's anyone to raid.
I wanted. So we're not playing. We're not on over the.
Yes, we are.
We are. I don't want to give away anything.
Give me 15, 20 seconds here. Good. Yeah, Mike says it was good to see you and see you on there, Jason. Mike said it.
Yeah, I missed Mike.
All right, everyone. Here, I'm gonna do a quickie post raid. So if you're still on, great. If not, it's not a big deal. Okay, I'm gonna do as I put this light on. That I'm gonna raid into Mike Disney. How's that sound? Mike's on.
Oh, Mike's great guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if but I'm doing this on my laptop, so it's slow. Give me a second, guys. I'll raid into Mike Disney.
Are we off of the?
Not yet, no, because I gotta get the raid done first. We'll probably get about 30 for the raid.
All right.
Look at that, 29. I was up by 1. Raid going on. Let me turn the broadcast off.